Nepal government decides to grant a 3-day nationwide public holiday for March 5 elections, approves a proposal to form Gen Z Council. Nepal's Election Commission pledges 24-hour results for March 5 elections, warns all against misinformation. Prime Minister Karki reaffirms Nepal's human rights commitment in a video address to the UN, links upcoming election to Gen Z movement for reform. Ukraine President Zelensky calls Russian President Putin's invasion a failure, marking 4 years since Russia's attack. US President Donald Trump's new global tariffs come into effect at 10% despite a pledge to introduce them at a higher rate. And domestic and international financial support pour in for Sabitra Bhandari for knee surgery. Samba expresses gratitude. Good evening, I am April Singh Lama. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. The Nepal government has declared a 3-day nationwide public holiday from March 4 to March 6, 2026 to facilitate the House of Representatives elections. To support the electoral process, the cabinet accepted a $4 million cash grant from China and approved the financial framework for the major Buri Gandaki hydroelectric project. Administrative reforms include appointing Dr. Diwakar Bhatta to lead the Consumer Court and granting district courts the authority to handle insurance-related legal cases. Furthermore, the government finalized the 2026-27 holiday calendar and approved the creation of a Gen Z Council to streamline future governance and youth engagement.
चीन सरकारबाट प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचनको लागि प्रदान गर्ने प्रस्तावित 4 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको नगद अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, चालू आर्थिक वर्षको विनियोजित बजेट तथा कार्यक्रममा उल्लेख भए बमोजिम बुढी गण्डकी जलाशययुक्त जलविद्युत आयोजनाको वित्तीय लगानी ढाँचा स्वीकृत गर्ने, काठमाडौँ जिल्ला अदालतका माननीय जिल्ला न्यायाधीश डाक्टर दिवाकर भट्टलाई काठमाडौँ जिल्ला अदालतको काम समेत हेर्ने गरी उपभोक्ता अदालत काठमाडौँको अध्यक्ष तोक्ने, बीमा ऐन 2079 को दफा 140 बमोजिमको कसुर सम्बन्धी मुद्दाको कारबाही र किनारा गर्न जिल्ला अदालतलाई तोक्ने, विक्रम सम्वत 2083 साल वैशाख 1 गतेदेखि चैत्र मसान्तसम्म 1 वर्षभरि दिइने सार्वजनिक बिदा निर्धारण गर्ने, मिति 2082 11-21 गते हुने प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचन 2082 को सन्दर्भमा मिति 2082 फागुन 20 गतेदेखि 22 गतेसम्म 3 दिन मुलुकभर सार्वजनिक बिदा दिने र अन्त्यमा जेनजी परिषद गठन गर्ने।
The Election Commission has announced its readiness to deliver direct election results within 24 hours of ballot collection for the upcoming House of Representatives polls on March 5. Acting Chief Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari confirmed that logistical preparations, including ballot transport and staff deployment, are complete, noting that the singular focus on the House of Representatives will speed up the counting process compared to previous cycles. While proportional results may take slightly longer, the Commission is considering flexible voting solutions for remote Himalayan regions to combat weather challenges. Officials have also issued a firm warning against spreading misinformation on social media and confirmed that voting will take place from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Newly appointed ambassadors from different countries to Nepal presented their letter of credence before President Ramchandra Paudel today. At a special ceremony held at Sheetal Niwas, the office of the President, President Paudel received letters of credence from 5 newly appointed ambassadors, 3 resident and 2 non-residents, according to the office of the President. Resident ambassadors presenting their credentials are Australian Ambassador to Nepal, Simon George Ernst, Ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Nepal, Fahd Mohammad Azmi Naker, and Ambassador of China, Zhang Maoming. Likewise, non-resident ambassadors submitting their credentials are Ambassador of the Maldives to Nepal, Aishat Azima, and Ambassador of Turkey to Nepal, Ali Murad Ersoy. We'll take a short break here. Stay tuned. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Welcome back. Now, in a video address to the 61st UN Human Rights Council, Prime Minister Sushila Karki reaffirmed Nepal's unwavering commitment to democracy, civil liberties and constitutional fundamental rights. Prime Minister Karki emphasized the government's ongoing efforts to resolve transitional justice by providing victims with both reparations and closure. Notably, the Prime Minister linked the upcoming March 5 elections to the recent Gen Z protest, which demanded systemic reform and an end to corruption. The Prime Minister assured the international community that Nepal is strictly focused on structural reforms to ensure an accountable, transparent and responsive governance model moving forward.
Mr. President, Mr. High Commissioner, Excellencies, at the outset, I would like to congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election as a President of Human Rights Council for 2026. Nepal assures its full support in discharging your mandate. We are meeting at a critical time. The world is facing several crises, some conventional and some emerging. Climate change, increasing conflict and severe disaster are to name a few. And most importantly, these crises are not stand-alone. They are intertwined and complex. Multilateralism itself is being tested, but our commitment to human rights is still strong and unflinching. We must uphold the universality of human rights despite several odds and uncertainties. Mr. President, Nepal is committed to protect and promote human rights. Our journey to democracy and freedom is a testimony to our consistent effort to ensure human rights. We have taken several measures, policy, legal, and institutional, to reflect our commitment in practice. Now our priority is to institutionalize human rights and make it a culture.
In other news, Nepal's leadership has reaffirmed its commitment to human rights and accountable governance, yet rising emissions, growing inequality and climate risks threaten to undo development gains. A recent UN assessment reveals that Nepal, along with other countries in Asia and the Pacific, is off track on all sustainable development goals. Without urgent action, this could deepen poverty, widen inequality and intensify climate and environmental crises. Our colleague Bijeta Bhandari takes a look at the progress.
The 2030 Sustainable Development Goals have been quite the popular phrase for a while. A set of 17 goals geared towards sustainable development, adopted by all 193 member states of the United Nations in 2015. But multiple disruptions, from the global pandemic and cost of living crisis to regional conflicts and setbacks in climate action, have all led to a sobering assessment. As the world steps into 2026, with less than 4 years to go until the 2030 deadline, just how far behind are we on reaching these sustainable development goals? The latest Asia-Pacific SDG Progress Report 2026 offers an unsparing answer. The Asia-Pacific region is not on track to achieve any of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. At the current pace, 88% of the measurable targets are expected to be missed. While countries have made progress in reducing poverty, improving health outcomes, and expanding industry and infrastructure, infrastructure, these gains are being undermined by environmental decline and persistent inequality. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. Biodiversity loss is accelerating. Marine ecosystems are under growing pressure. The report warns that development across the region remains deeply unbalanced and increasingly unsustainable. In Nepal, the picture is mixed. Extreme poverty has dropped sharply over the past 3 decades. Access to electricity has reached 94% of the population. Maternal and child mortality rates have declined significantly. However, food insecurity has increased in recent years, with millions facing moderate to severe shortages, and the country remains highly vulnerable to climate impacts. In May of 2025, Nepal submitted its third nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement. The plan emphasizes adaptation measures including early warning systems, integrated watershed management, and reducing risks from glacial lake outburst floods. But the financial requirements are significant, up to $20 billion for adaptation and nearly $74 billion for mitigation. With the 2030 deadline fast approaching, the message from global and regional assessments is clear. Progress must accelerate. For Nepal's upcoming new governance, turning commitments into measurable action, mobilizing climate finance, and ensuring policy coherence can be critical to delivering on both sustainable development and human rights promises before the 2030 clock runs out.
Now, the Holi festival has officially commenced across Nepal through 2 distinct and vibrant traditions. In the Kathmandu Valley, the ritual installation of the chair at Basantapur this morning marked the start of the Che Swayagu festivals. Simultaneously, in the Mithila region, the 15-day Madhyamik Parikrama pilgrimage reached Kanchanban, where devotees celebrated the symbolic Holi of Lord Ram and Goddess Sita with colors and traditional songs. While the hills will observe the main festival day on Monday, March 2nd, the Tarai region, including Mithilanchal, will celebrate on Tuesday, March 3rd, following the conclusion of the 15-day Holi in Janakpur. Westerly winds continue to influence Nepal's weather, bringing generally cloudy skies to the high-altitude regions of Gandaki, Koshi and Karnali tonight. While the Tarai region remains mostly fair with some hazy conditions, the Meteorological Forecasting Division warns of isolated light rain and snowfall in the high hilly and mountainous belts. By tomorrow morning, dense mist is expected to settle over parts of the Tarai. The hilly regions of Koshi, Bagmati and Gandaki should prepare for scattered light rain and snowfall, potentially accompanied by thunder and lightning. Similar isolated conditions are also possible in the mountains of Lumbini, Karnali and Sudar Paschim. Time now for international news, but before that, a short break. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to take over Ukraine when he invaded 4 years ago, but he failed to achieve this and other war goals. In a video address marking the 4-year anniversary of Russia's invasion, Zelensky adds that Ukraine is ready to do everything it can to secure a strong, lasting peace.
Путін не досягнув своїх цілей, не зламав українців, не переміг в цій війні. Ми зберегли Україну і ми зробимо все, щоб здобути мир і щоб була справедливість. До весни менше тижня ми долаємо найважчу зиму в історії. Це факт. І це дуже непросто. Непросто всім вам. Але так само, як у перший день війни, ми продовжуємо будувати своє завтра. Крок за кроком, справа за справою, здобуток за здобутком.
Meanwhile, international leaders have arrived in Kyiv to mark the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion, underscoring continued global support for Ukraine amid the ongoing conflict. The international delegation included European, North American and Asian leaders who reiterated commitments to military aid, economic assistance and diplomatic backing for Ukraine's territorial integrity. They also participated in a series of solemn ceremonies throughout the capital, including laying wreaths and paying tribute to Ukrainian soldiers who have died defending the country. Ukrainian authorities describe the visits as a morale boost for both civilians and troops, sending a clear message that Ukraine's allies remain engaged even 4 years into the war. U.S. President Donald Trump's new global tariffs have come into effect at 10% despite a pledge to introduce them at a higher rate. After the Supreme Court blocked many of his sweeping import taxes on Friday, the president said he would introduce a 10% global rate. He then said on Saturday that the rate would be 15%. However, according to official documents, the tariffs have been set at the lower rate from Tuesday, with no directive to increase the rate issued. The president has argued that tariffs are necessary to reduce America's trade deficit, the amount by which imports exceed exports. But the deficit reached a fresh high last week, widening by 2.1% compared to 2024 and hitting roughly $1.2 trillion US. World shares were mixed today after U.S. stocks slumped on heavy selling of shares in companies that could be losers in the artificial intelligence boom. A report by Subsidiary Research, a New York-based financial services company that outlined a future scenario in which AI's dominance caused the human-centric consumer economy to wither away with dire consequences for employment, was the latest hit to confidence for companies that might be displaced by fast-expanding use of the technology. The futures for the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average were up less than 0.1%. In Asian trading, Tokyo's Nikkei 225 index surged 0.9%. Markets in mainland China advanced as they reopened following a week-long holiday, but Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell as traders locked in profits from recent gains, slipping 1.8%. In South Korea, the Kospi picked up 2.1%, setting fresh records on gains for memory chip maker Samsung Electronics, which jumped 3.6%. Aviation and disaster response officials inspected the wreckage of a chartered air ambulance that crashed in the eastern Indian state of Jharkhand, killing all 7 people on board. The aircraft took off Monday evening from Ranchi, the state capital, and en route to New Delhi. All 7 occupants, including the patient, medical staff and flight crew, were confirmed dead at the scene. Preliminary reports indicate the aircraft went down shortly after departure. India's civil aviation authorities have launched a formal investigation to determine the cause of the crash, with technical teams collecting flight data and examining maintenance and operational records. Officials said further details would be released pending forensic analysis and recovery of onboard recording equipment. Iran has firmly dismissed speculations about a potential interim agreement with the United States, stating that such claims have no basis. Foreign Minister spokesperson Ismail Baghei addressed numerous rumors regarding the format and substance of ongoing negotiation between Tehran and Washington at a press conference on Monday. He underlined that none of the details circulating are confirmed by Iran, especially those regarding an interim agreement, which he says has no basis. Baghei stressed that negotiations aimed at forcing one side to unilaterally accept the other's demands will not succeed, particularly with Iran. Iran believes in the legitimacy of its views regarding nuclear-related issues and the lifting of sanctions, and will continue to advance this process if it can yield results, according to the spokesperson. Oman, meanwhile, has been effortful as it has been serving as a mediator between Iran and the US in their latest talks. Time for a short break. Stay tuned. A major storm hit the U.S. East Coast, bringing record-breaking snow that caused disruptions for millions and thousands of flight cancellations. Parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts have been nearly 37 inches of snowfall, with more than 19 inches in New York City's Central Park, according to the National Weather Service. Weather warnings stretch from North Carolina to northern Maine, with some in place further north in parts of eastern Canada. More than 600,000 properties on the U.S. East Coast endured power outages, while the Boston Globe, a major U.S. newspaper, said it will not go to print for the first time in its 153-year history due to the storm. The so-called nor'easter is forecast to move away from the U.S. later today and across coastal parts of eastern Canada, though strong winds are expected to persist, according to the NWS. Now, over 200 people took part in a unique snow shoveling event in an area known for heavy snowfalls and hot springs in northeastern Japan's Yamagata Prefecture. The annual Jimendashi contest is held in the Hijori district in the village of Okura. Jimendashi translates roughly as dig out the first spring. There were 227 people and they were in 44 teams. The participants dug through the snow until they reached the ground. The event is held around this time of the year to draw tourists to the local hot springs. The region has received about 2.2 meters of snow this year. The holes in the snow were eventually so deep that the diggers could not be seen from the surface. When the participants managed to dig up some snow with soil attached to it, they quickly delivered it to the judges. Indigenous communities across Brazil celebrated Tuesday after the federal government revoked a controversial decree that would have expanded port infrastructure along Amazonian rivers to facilitate grain exports. The decision comes after weeks of sustained protest by indigenous groups, including the high-profile occupation of a terminal operated by Cargill, one of the country's largest agribusiness exporters. Leaders of the affected communities said the government's reversal marks a major victory for indigenous rights and environmental protection in the Amazon, a region already under pressure from deforestation and industrial development. The protests drew national and international attention, highlighting indigenous demands for consultation and participation in decisions affecting their ancestral lands and waterways. Indigenous groups argued that such developments threatened fragile ecosystems, disrupted local fisheries, and encroached on legally recognized indigenous territories. Now, in other news, France on Tuesday staged a large-scale, high-intensity military drill as part of the Orion 26 exercise, deploying forces aboard the helicopter carrier FS Tonnerre off the western coast. The exercise, conducted in the port city of Saint-Nazaire, simulates a scenario in which French territory has been invaded, requiring rapid mobilization and counter-offensive operations. The Orion 26 exercise is designed to test France's ability to coordinate land, air and naval forces under combat conditions similar to large-scale state-on-state warfare. Military officials said the drills include amphibious landings, troop deployments and joint command operations aimed at strengthening readiness amid the shifting European security environment. French defense authorities describe the exercise as part of a broader effort to adapt operational capabilities to evolving threats, including conventional warfare scenarios requiring rapid force projection and inter-service coordination. India and France have revised a 3-decade-old tax treaty, reducing divided levies for large French investors while expanding Delhi's powers to tax some transactions. The changes could benefit major companies such as Sanofi, Renault and L'Oreal, which have expanded their investments in India over the past few years. The agreement also gives Delhi the right to tax capital gains arising from the sale of shares, including transactions where a French entity owns less than 10% of an Indian company. The revised treaty also removes a most favored nation clause, which had allowed French entities to claim a lower tax rate in India. It will come into effect after completing formalities and legal approvals in both the countries. Time now for Sports Update. Massive support has poured in from the domestic and international front for Samba within just 24 hours of her medical plea. Following her appeal for complex double knee surgery in New Zealand, the legendary striker has already requested a halt to donations, stating the funds are now sufficient. Expressing her heartfelt gratitude, she promised fans a strong return to the pitch once recovered. The financial response has been staggering. Over 10 million rupees hit her Nepali bank account, with 4.5 million raised internationally. Notable contributions include 500,000 rupees from the Nepali Congress and 100,000 from Nagarjun Resort, while Kathmandu Medical College has pledged to provide her treatment entirely free of charge. Now, in the ongoing 2026 ICC T20 World Cup, India and Pakistan have taken different paths in the Super 8 stage. In the ongoing clash, Pakistan has opted to bat first, while both giants clashed earlier in the group stage, where India secured a record-breaking 61-run victory behind Ishan Kishan's 77. They are currently competing in separate Super 8 groups. India, placed in Group 1, is looking to bounce back following a recent 76-run defeat to South Africa in Ahmedabad. Meanwhile, in Group 2, Pakistan is in action tonight against England in Pallekele. Desperate for a win after their opening Super 8 fixture against New Zealand was abandoned due to rain. With the semi-finals in sight, every boundary counts as the men in blue and the green shirts push for a spot in the Final Four. Argentine football faces a major standoff as club leaders have requested the suspension of the Apertura tournament's 9th round. This move serves as a show of unity behind the Argentine Football Association following a legal complaint filed against its president, Claudio Cheque Tapia, and 4 other executives. The investigation centers on allegations of tax evasion and the failure to deposit pension contributions between March 2024 and September 2025. Club officials argued that the legal case threatens to destabilize domestic football operations, leading to this dramatic call to halt the competition. As the legal process moves forward, the AFA remains under intense scrutiny, sparking significant administrative tension across the league. Now, Paris Saint-Germain vice-captain and Morocco national team captain Achraf Hakimi is set to face trial on charges of rape in Nanterre of France. The prosecutor's office launched the investigation in 2023 following an allegation of sexual assault against Hakimi. The footballer publicly denied the accusations in a post on X, calling the charges unjust and asserting that the evidence proves his innocence. 28-year-old Hakimi has been a key figure for PSG and Morocco, serving as vice-captain of the club and captain of the national squad. Legal experts said the case will proceed under French criminal law and the trial is expected to attract significant media attention due to Hakimi's high-profile status. Now, before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nepal government decides to grant a 3-day nationwide public holiday for March 5 elections, approves proposal to form Gen Z Council. Nepal's Election Commission pledges 24-hour results for March 5 elections, warns all against misinformation. Prime Minister Karki reaffirms Nepal's human rights commitment in a video address to the UN, links upcoming election to Gen Z movement for reform. Ukraine President Zelensky calls Russian President Putin's invasion a failure, marking 4 years since Russia's attack. US President Donald Trump's new global tariffs come into effect at 10% despite a pledge to introduce them at a higher rate. And domestic and international financial support pour in for Sabitra Bhandari for knee surgery. Samba expresses gratitude. That is all for the moment here on Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and visit us at nepaltelevision.com. I am April Singh Lama. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Bagmati province boasts the federal capital Kathmandu, which is the center of attraction. Kathmandu Valley is a tourism hub of Nepal, as it has the only operational international airport of the country. Kathmandu is also the only entry point for those reaching Nepal by air. Bagmati province is also the place with the most tourist destinations and tourism-related activities. This province offers several attractions for both domestic and foreign tourists. Today, we take you to some of the beautiful destinations of Bagmati province, which is rich in culture and heritages. The capital of Nepal, the place with most tourist destinations, major destination for both domestic and foreign tourists. Province rich in culture and heritages. It is a beautiful valley of 3 districts, Kathmandu, Bhaktapur and Lalitpur. The valley offers best environmental conditions. The region is also considered exceptional in terms of historical, cultural and natural artifacts and political history. Let us visit first Pashupatinath, which is popular around the world among Hindu pilgrims. This is Pashupatinath temple. Lord Pashupatinath is the real name of Lord Shiva. Pashupatinath temple and the premises have long been the center of faith of Hindus around the world. It is one of the 7 World Heritage Sites in Kathmandu Valley. We now take you to another significant heritage in the valley, which is Swayambhunath. popular monastery located in the west of Kathmandu. Thousands of tourists reach Swayambhunath every day. Foreign tourists who reach Kathmandu do not miss out on Swayambhunath, while domestic visitors flock to this heritage on holidays. Swayambhunath is one of the preferred destinations of tourists in Kathmandu. Another heritage is Bodhanath. Bodhanath is the center of faith for Buddhists. This is the largest hemispherical stupa of Nepal. The monastery is built on massive 3 layers. Heritage has become a preferred destination for both domestic and foreign tourists. Let us now go to Basantapur Darbar Square of Malla era in Kathmandu. This place can be a significant destination for those with an interest of study and research of history and handicrafts of the Malla era. This heritage holds a unique significance because of its location in the heart of Kathmandu with a lot of human movement. Basantapur Darbar Square draws both domestic and foreign tourists alike. Moving on, we head to Bhaktapur, which is rich in Newari culture. Bhaktapur Darbar Square is considered significant not only for its history, but also for its culture, art and handicrafts. with the objective of promoting nighttime tourism in Kirtipur, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. Yes, Bhaktapur is the smallest district of Nepal. However, it is the richest in terms of heritages. If you reach Bhaktapur but do not make it to Changunarayan, that would leave your trip incomplete. We are now taking you to Changunarayan temple to complete your Bhaktapur visit. This temple, which is located just 6 kilometers north of Bhaktapur city, is not only significant for its historic, artistic and religious aspects, but also for tourism. This temple, which is considered the oldest in the valley, was listed in UNESCO's World Heritage Sites in 1969. We now move on to Lalitpur, also known as Patan. Of the popular 3 cities of Kathmandu Valley, Patan is considered the oldest. Patan Darbar Square is located in this city. Extraordinary works of Newari art and craft can be seen in this region, which has been decorated with cultural heritages since the 17th century. Such richness tends to draw the tourists. Locals in Kathmandu might have visited all destinations around the city. However, these destinations could be new to foreign tourists and those from outside the valley. These are a few destinations for hiking around Kathmandu for a brief escape from the city. Let us now go to a few tourist destinations near Kathmandu for a couple of nights. Sauraha is one of the major tourist destinations of Nepal. It is considered the best destination for wildlife tourism. The main objective of reaching Sauraha is to visit the Chitwan National Park. Elephant ride, jeep safari and jungle walk are the ways to visit the national park. Most of the tourists find elephant ride the most interesting. Boating must not be missed in Sauraha. Watching the crocodiles in their leisure at the Rapti river bank is a pleasing feeling. Birds from up to Siberia can be seen during winter. A view of the sunset from the bank of Rapti river, a ride in horse, an ox cart, and Sauraha market area are other attractions of this place. Haru dance and culture further entertain the tourists. One of the most popular trekking trails of the world, Langtang National Park, lies in Bagmati province. Let's have a look at the specialities and attractions of Langtang. Langtang, which spreads across 6,440 meters in Sindhupalchok, Nuakot and Rasua districts, is the first national park of the mountainous region. National park includes popular mountainous valley Langtang, Injing and the pilgrimage site of Gosaikunda. Separate trails lead up to Gosai Kunda and Langtang Valley inside the Langtang National Park. Rare species of red panda, snow leopards, and wild dogs, among other animals, can be seen during treks in the region. The range of mountains, wild animals, bird watching, valleys and Gosai Kunda, among other water bodies, are the major attractions of Langtang. Ruby Valley. Ruby Valley near Langtang is a new tourist destination. Ruby Valley in Dhading district is the closest destination to Kathmandu for trekking. Ruby is a precious stone. The valley is named Ruby Valley as precious stones including ruby and quartz are found here. Wild animals at the verge of extinction including red panda, mountainous range, lakes, beautiful settlements, yak, traditional cattle rearing, Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sports, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli river is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days. Alongside trekking, jungle safari, rafting, city charm and natural sceneries, Bagmati province is equally a good tourist destination for religious tourism. Bagmati province is also popular for religious tourism. There are some major religious shrines in the province. Bhimeshwar of Dolakha is one of the most popular religious destinations of the country. Based on the legends, any bad omens in the country are signaled by the statue of Bhimeshwar. Kalinchok has increasingly become the first preference of tourists in recent time. With the operation of cable car in Kalinchok now, it has increased the attraction for tourists. There is a religious belief that wishes are fulfilled after visiting Kalinchok deity. Gosai Kunda, located in Rashwa district, which shares border with Tibet over China, is a very important religious and tourist destination. Religious fairs are held twice a year in Gosaikunda during Dasara and Janai Purnima. This is a great destination for those who prefer trekking and are of spiritual nature. Devghat Dham, along the border of Chitwan and Tanaho, is a well-established religious place among Hindus. Many followers reach this place on the day of Mange Sankranti. This is a popular religious destination among elderly people. There are immense possibilities of tourism in Bagmati province. There are no doubts on tourism aiding in prosperity of the province. However, it is imperative to promote domestic tourism alongside prioritizing foreign tourists. Bagmati province is ahead of other provinces in regards to tourism infrastructures. Most of the tourist destinations are linked by road networks, while there are airway services in many others to reach in a short period of time. Sound arrangements of hotels and homestays have been made for food and accommodation. Therefore, let us travel the country to keep the economy moving and achieve prosperity.
Welcome to NTV World Insight. In September this year, the country faced its worst unrest in decades, leading to Prime Minister's resignation and raising serious political and economic uncertainty. Nepal's growth has averaged just 4.3% in recent years. Youth unemployment is almost 23%, and a significant portion of GDP comes from remittances, which have prevented around 2.5 million people from falling into poverty. Public investment remains weak, with capital spending at less than 8% of the GDP last year, far below the 10 to 15% that is expected for infrastructure. A recent report by the World Bank has projected economic growth will go down to 2.1% in 2026 before rebounding to 4.7% the year later. Today we discuss how Nepal can restore stability, accelerate reforms and unlock growth with the World Bank Division Director for Nepal, Maldives and Sri Lanka, David Sislin. Welcome to NTV World Insight.
Great to see you again, Sarah.
How long has it been since you came to Nepal, personally or professionally altogether?
It's been just about 18 months so far. It's been the best 18 months of my professional career, and yeah, lots of changes in that 18 months. So very different Nepal today in many respects from a political point of view particularly than what I encountered when I moved here a year and a half ago.
So we've hosted you quite well.
It's been fantastic, absolutely.
When you are free, what do you like doing here in Nepal?
Look, I am an avid golfer, so I spend a lot of time at Gokarna hitting golf balls and cursing because it's a very difficult place to play golf. And I ride my motorcycle around a little bit, and mostly I spend a lot of time reading about Nepal, its history, its politics, and learning as much as I can about this incredible place.
Apart from golf, is there any other place that you really like to hit to?
You know, I would say that since I'm here without my family and I'm here alone, many of the bartenders in Kathmandu know me well. So I do spend some time out with my friends, enjoying the incredible nightlife in the city.
All right, to begin with, the Country Partnership Framework, the $2.7 billion support project for Nepal. How is it going so far?
Oh, thanks. That's a great question. Look, the World Bank has a long-term partnership with Nepal. We've been here for more than 60 years. We currently have a portfolio program of about $2.2 billion spread across almost 20 projects, ranging from health to education to infrastructure to youth employment. And that has really, I think, reflects the deep engagement that we have in the country. Our new program that, as we talked about the last time you and I saw each other, is a long-term commitment, a 7-year commitment to the country, is really exciting, mostly because it focuses laser-like on what we think is the most critical issue for the country, and that is jobs. Jobs for youth, but jobs more broadly. Getting an economy that is really driving growth through the private sector and creating jobs is so central to the development challenges of Nepal, and I think we learned a lot about that in September, right? How just truly critical it is. In this coming year, I'll just say that we are really excited because we have a couple of operations that we really think will help jumpstart the jobs agenda. So working with the DCGF, the Development Credit Guarantee Facility, a major investment program in Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, and some really exciting work that we hope to start in the coming months around improving air quality in the Kathmandu Valley. So really exciting times, lots of work ahead.
Nepal's public debt, as mentioned in your latest report, is increasing from 43.6% in 2025 to 45.2% in 2026. May I ask how much Nepal currently owes the World Bank, and as a Nepali citizen, how much do I, as an individual, owe to the World Bank?
Let me try to put in a little bit of context, though. I think we're at a time where Nepalis are very critical of the public sector and very critical of the government. But I think one of the things that Nepal and Nepalis should be incredibly proud of is the steady, mature, and really world-class macroeconomic management that has taken place over the last decade. Nepal remains at low risk of debt distress. This means that compared to other countries, compared to comparator countries, it is actually doing very well in terms of not borrowing too much money. That increase that you said, a little bit up, is something to be conscious of and to be focused on. But the biggest challenge in Nepal is not the amount of debt, but turning that debt into productive investment, making sure that when you are borrowing from the World Bank or the ADB or the markets or Nepalis themselves, that you are really able to make investments that deliver returns. Now, Nepal, yes, the overall amount of debt that the Republic of Nepal has increased a little bit, but the profile of that debt is very concessional. It's extremely long-term, and the bulk of it, especially the bulk of the international debt, is coming from multilateral development institutions like the World Bank and the ADB. So that's extremely long-term, 30-plus year debt at very, very concessional rates. So there's good debt and there's bad debt, but the most important thing, as I mentioned, is turning that debt, turning that borrowing into development results. And I think that a lot of what we saw in September is frustration, especially among the youth, about not seeing those investments materialize and turn into the kind of results that drive growth and development.
How has it been for you working with the bureaucracy in the government? Is it easy?
Not a question I was expecting from you, Sarah, but thanks for asking. Look, I am amazed every day at the dedication, hard work, and commitment of the civil servants and people in the system, both the politicians and the civil servants. And I say that honestly. Now, I feel sometimes that they're fighting against a system that is overly complex, that is overly difficult to manage. So one of the, I just give an example. It is so difficult to get infrastructure built in Nepal. It just simply takes so long. And that's not because good people of goodwill in the system are not working really hard, because they are working really hard and trying really hard, but the rules are too complex, they're Byzantine. I give the example because we talk about it a lot, but in Nepal, to get a tree cutting clearance, if you want to widen a road or build a piece of critical infrastructure, requires a cabinet approval. There are few countries, I would suspect there is no country in the world where the prime minister needs to weigh in on the cutting of a few trees so that you can widen a critical piece of infrastructure. So I really think that part of the challenge for Nepal is making the kind of policy, legal, institutional, and regulatory reforms that will actually allow those people in the system to deliver the kind of development results that Nepalis are asking for.
When you talk about the tree cutting requirement, conservationists would not accept it, or they would conflict.
Look, there's been Nepal is one of the most successful countries in increasing its forest cover, right? The increase in forest cover from the 1970s to today, I forget what the number is, but has been world-class. We're now at a time where actually Nepal's biggest challenge is not in increasing its forest cover, but in doing two things: converting that incredible assets of forests into productive use, and second, making the kind of infrastructure investments that will allow growth and development to really take off. You talked about the growth rate of being at 4.3% in your intro. That is simply too low. Nepal needs to get to that 7 and 8% of growth rate if it wants to reach escape velocity, to get out of this lower income and soon to be lower middle income world that it's living in.
The non-performing loan ratio increased from 3.9% to 4.6% in 2025. What immediate steps would you suggest Nepal should take to reduce the financial sector's vulnerabilities?
Right, so great question, and this is really about the domestic financial sector, the domestic banks. I think it's important to put in, so yes, we've seen a little bit of an uptick in non-performing loans, and this is troubling. But we do need to put in the context. The banking sector in Nepal is quite healthy. Capital adequacy ratios are high and acceptable, and profitability remains solid. But this increase in NPLs, in non-performing loans, is troubling because it starts to constrain credit growth. And we know that credit growth, lending to private enterprise for making investments and building businesses, is central to the development trajectory in the country. So a little bit troubling. Overall, not a worrying situation in the banking sector right now, but I think it underpins the broader challenge in the country, which is that we don't see investment either by the public sector or by the private sector, and here we're talking about the private sector largely, as being enough and fast enough. So making sure that that remittance money that's coming in is really being translated into investment and not just consumption. Investment levered by banking loans and not just consumption.
These are all very interconnected. Remittances support our economy, yes.
Absolutely.
But we're trying to also raise jobs. How do we come about, changing the scenario for Nepal? Because definitely, if we continue to be dependent on remittances, it's not going to be sustainable.
Well, you've touched on what I really think, Sarah, is the central story in the Nepali economy. Okay, and it's nuanced. It has good and bad. It's not black or white. Let's be very clear. Nepal has reduced extreme poverty faster than almost any country in human history. And in human history. So when I started my career in the World Bank, extreme poverty in Nepal was 55%. And today it is 0.37%. It's almost zero extreme poverty. That's at a low level. And that has happened almost exclusively because of this remittance flow. Last month, 200 billion rupee, about 1.5 billion US dollars, came in remittances. Right? This is $2 million US dollars per hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month. I mean, a remarkable story. But it hasn't translated into investments, private sector growth, and job creation that we really wanted to see. It's not a bad thing, remittances. It has been the lifeline of the country. It has been the backbone of the country's growth and development story. But as this country becomes more urbanized, as people are having less babies, as that demographic bulge starts to pivot, it will be really important to translate or translate into a situation where jobs are created in the country. We have 2,000 young Nepalis a day leaving the country to work abroad. So you asked me about my time here in Nepal. So I've been here for 18 months, and you can do the math. If 2,000 Nepalis a day are leaving the country, in the short 18 months that I've lived in Bulanilkanta, almost 800,000 Nepalis have left the country to work abroad. So this is something that has been the lifeline of the country and will continue to be very important, but we really need to complement it with opportunities in Nepal. We need to give young Nepalis the choice. Do you want to go work abroad, or do you want to pursue a career with good opportunities here in the country? So I really think this is the central challenge of the economy.
When we talk about the use of remittances, the contribution and the importance that it holds, where do you think is the gap in actually using it in sectors that could materialize into something bigger?
Great. It's a great question. I don't have the answer. What is clear is that massive remittance flow that we talked about, and again, remittances are about 50 times the amount of ODA, of money that comes from the World Bank and the ADB and development partners. So it's 50 times more money every year is coming in remittances, but right now it's mostly being used for consumption. And that's been fantastic. It's paying for private schools, it's paying for private health care, it is paying for your cousin's scooter or your mother's scooter or a television or putting food on the table. But what we're not seeing it translate into is Nepalis whose son, daughter, cousin, mother is abroad taking that money and making productive investments. Because I think there's such concern about the difficulty in running a business in the country. The business environment is not what it should be. That is so challenging. So turning that remittance flow into both productive private investment and also making sure that the government can make use of those resources to make productive public investment is the investment challenge.
Growth is projected to fall to 2.1% in 2026 before recovering to 4.7% in 2027. What do you think can be done to cushion in the short run this downturn?
Right. So we are regrettably projecting a quite significant downturn in growth, largely as a result of the events of September. And the main channel of that has been through the tourism sector. Right, we're seeing a significant decrease in tourism. I think it was down 18% in September and into October, and really expecting that if we see a smooth and peaceful political transition, and if we see the continuation of a serious reform agenda to make that business environment that we just talked about more compelling, to attract foreign direct investment, to reduce red tape, to get much more clarity on issues like taxation and customs, that we would see a return to significantly higher level of growth. We're projecting 4.7 in next year, but still that remains too low, right? I mean, we really need to think about how Nepal can get to that 7, 8, 9% growth rate. There are some really exciting green shoots, really exciting things that we're seeing happening, particularly in the IT space. So in the last few weeks, we saw the first Nepali firm listed on the NASDAQ, right? This is incredibly exciting stuff. More of that faster is what Nepal really needs.
Public capital stock fell about 75% of the GDP in the mid-1990s to about 54% in 2019. Is this drop alarmingly concerning for our country?
Look, it's definitely a problem. We know globally that there are really two factors that drive economic growth. The growth in the public capital stock and what we call total factor productivity, or how you turn your factors like capital, like your people, into productive assets. And on both of these fronts, Nepal has some significant challenges, right? The big issues in the education system that we know about, that means that our human capital is not delivering, and a downturn in the investment in capital investment reflected in the budget, and also how much of the government money is actually spent, that has been a real problem. So we've seen the actual execution of the public investment. So when the government budgets 100, the amount that they actually are able to spend over the course of a year has actually come down over time. So not only is the government budgeting less for capital investment, but it's spending less of the money that it's budgeted. And so as a result, fewer roads are getting built, fewer airports are getting upgraded, fewer hospitals and schools, and all of the kind of critical infrastructure that we know makes up that capital stock is actually being delivered for the Nepali people.
Foreign direct investment inflows also remain subdued in recent years. What do you think can Nepal do to attract more investment, especially considering all the political uncertainty and also considering the Gen Z movement?
Yeah, I think the troubling issue with foreign direct investment in Nepal is that the low levels of FDI today are not a reflection of the events of September. It has been a really troubling trajectory of very, very low levels of FDI over time. And this is something, again, we talked a little bit about this. We want to see Nepalis invest in Nepal, but bringing technology and investment from abroad is actually really central to getting that total factor productivity that I talked about raised. And we see very, very low levels of it. And there's a number of reasons for it, right? One is political and policy uncertainty. If I'm a foreign investor and I'm not sure if the government is going to change in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or multiple times over the next year, I'm going to be hesitant to invest. So political stability and policy stability is really critical. Clarity on issues like taxes is really critical. Honoring the trade agreements that the country has is really critical. So giving the policy environment that people are willing to make the investments in, willing to take my money from abroad and put into Nepal, is absolutely central. The poor quality of infrastructure in the country remains a major drag on things like foreign direct investment. I give you an example. 28% of agricultural production is lost in transit inside Nepal just because of the poor quality of infrastructure, the lack of storage, etc. So if I'm a foreign investor thinking about making a major agribusiness investment, am I going to choose Nepal, where the roads, the bridges, the airports, the quality of infrastructure is so poor, or am I going to think about somewhere else where my money is safer because of the lack of capital stock? So it really, many of the questions that you've asked really have this thread that ties through them. Right?
So this is recent. Sometime back, the World Bank, through IDA, ADB and Switzerland launched a 3-year partnership to strengthen Nepal's disaster risk management and build climate-resilient infrastructure. How will this partnership move forward, and who will it benefit?
Super excited about it because the our collaboration with the ADB particularly is a centerpiece of our engagement here. I think that's something that is very important. We really try to work as one team to support the government of Nepal in its development journey. And we've been really fortunate to be able to partner with the government of Switzerland, who's been providing a significant amount of grant resources around this issue of climate change, climate adaptation, being able to deal with disaster risk in a more sustainable and thoughtful way. So Nepal is one of the countries that is most exposed to disaster risk, both from earthquakes but also from things like flooding. And so being able to partner with Switzerland and ADB in embedding thoughtful disaster risk management approaches in all of the infrastructure, both that we finance but that the government supports, is very important. We talked earlier about the CPF. Our CPF has two and only two foci. One is jobs that we talked about, and the second is reducing the risks from natural disasters. So these are really two pillars of our engagement here at the World Bank in Nepal.
The World Bank has approved $150 million for the Third Bridges Improvement and Maintenance Program. The goal, as mentioned, is to build climate-resilient bridges with real-time monitoring to make critical road networks safer and more reliable, especially in disaster-prone areas. How is the project rolling so far?
Just started, but I think the story on bridges is a great one. Again, I think too much we focus on all the problems. We really need to focus on the fact that from 2012 to 2024, the World Bank supported the maintenance and construction of over 44,000 bridges throughout the country. So this new bridge program builds on 12 years of real success on doing that. I think what's exciting about this one is that we really are bringing these issues around disaster risk management and resilience much more centrally into how we think about how the government plans, builds, and maintains its infrastructure.
David, thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
Thanks so much.
And thank you too for watching the show. Do join us on our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and also on YouTube. And also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com, for more news and information. Until next time.
Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli river is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days.
Since childhood, I always like to go in a competition. Even I was in a high school, I done many competition in athletics or other things, and then I end up with MasterChef. I was winner of rematch in 2020 MasterChef UK Professionals. My all-time favorite, and I think all Nepali favorite, is goat curry and rice, mashed bhat. I'm from Karjanaha village, district Siraha. When I was very small kid, I started working for a family, and same time I was studying as well. When I was 5 years old, my father passed away. When I was very young age, for us, food was survival food. Till SLC, I was in village, and then I went to India for work purpose, and then I started working in a 5-star hotel as a kitchen porter. Then I find my passion about the cooking, because I was seeing the chef, very nice, tidy, white jacket with a white hat, and then I decided I want to these guys, and I became a chef in a few months, and then working almost 7 years, and then I continue my study as well, and after 7 years I become an executive chef in a 5-star hotel. In a MasterChef, I was cooking only Nepali food and introducing Nepali food, Nepali spices and Nepali technique, because Nepali food was never discovered to the world, and Nepal have a very good potential. The people never expected gundruk to be like this, and even wachipa, pite, burning feathers, chicken feathers, and marinating in chicken and cooking with rice. Also padam chal, that's a Himalayan rhubarb. This kind of things I cook in the MasterChef. I have also written a book called Ayla, A-Y-L-A, Ayla book. That's a recipe cookbook. During the MasterChef, I started Nepali cuisine. Before, I was working in a Michelin star, French Michelin star, Indian Michelin star restaurant. That was not my Nepali cuisine, was not my cuisine. But now I can say proudly, Nepali cuisine is my cuisine. Still, I am promoting Nepali food, ethnic cuisine, cultural cuisine. Like if you see, we are in a Mithila Thali fish house. Mithila cuisine is very close to my heart. That reflects Tarai region food to the world, and this food was never promoted as well. And opening a Mithila restaurant and promoting Mithila cuisine. Mithila cuisine is very healthy. Mithila food have fermentation, freshness, seasonal vegetables, seasonal cookings. So lots of things came into Mithila cuisine. So I think world should know about this cuisine. I really want to serve Nepal via food. This is the third year I'm doing Nepali cuisine restaurant in Nepal, and almost 200 people working for me. If you want to be a chef, if you are confused to decide, I think this is the right time to do it. And if you are studying in abroad, I think Nepal have a very good potential for the business in a hospitality industry, because Nepal is a tourism-based country, and tourism always need a good hospitality, good restaurant, good food, and good hotel. Now I'm dreaming with open eyes. I want a Michelin star chef with Nepali food. Then any part of the world, I will be opening Michelin star Nepali restaurant.
I came from Biratnagar, and am at a global stage on data and AI and finance. So I was born and brought up in a city called Biratnagar in the eastern part of Nepal. I was brought up in a typical middle-class Nepali family. I went to school in a normal Nepali school. I studied there until SLC in Biratnagar. As for my higher education, I did my undergrad in Australia. I went over to study quant finance at New York University. I did masters in financial engineering. When I remember my childhood, I used to like sports. Cricket was my thing. And I always liked numbers, patterns, logic. When I found quant finance, it kind of was a formalization of most of my interests that I had as a kid. I was recognized as a change maker. All I did was used mathematics and advanced computational sciences to create mathematical models to predict investments and risk, etc. There's nothing like that being done widely in the industry. As you see, it's a very recent phenomenon. That's how I kind of got into this spot of being recognized as the top 100 influential figures in AI. I remember this song, Hatne Hoina Dati Ladne, right? And that kind of is the embodiment of us. Nepal taught me to lead during scarcity. Nepal taught me to asset allocate when resources are limited, to innovate, right? For me, getting this recognition or being, global stage, it just gives me a bigger microphone. And what I probably would plan to do, or what I am always kind of striving to do, is use that bigger microphone to convey the message on what could be the possibility for tomorrow. I just am a medium for a lot of people here who have already been doing this thing for a long time. Nepal does not lack intelligence. Our bottleneck is not we don't know how to do things. Our bottleneck is infrastructure and policy framework. These are two things. And if we solve this, I think market is going to take its turn and you will see proliferation. Don't stop dreaming. That would be my first thing. Dream big. If you are persistent on what you want, and if you have clarity of thought and logic, you will achieve it.
I think like any other young people, usually in Nepal, the jobs were the primary intention of many youth coming out of education system. So even my family and my friends, they thought that I'm going to take a job. Starting something out in Nepal where the entrepreneurial ecosystem is pretty young, and it's very difficult in terms of many ways, like finding the funding, finding the suppliers, navigating the government offices. It's pretty difficult. And I think one of the most difficult things was to try to do something that no one has ever done before. So running an education organization that does research and also does manufacturing, so there was a lot of learning curve and a lot of failures in the path. My name is Pavitra Bahadur Gautam. By education, I'm an electronics and communication engineer. I worked in robotics for a couple of years. I always had this curiosity of building things, trying things out. I always had this experimental mindset, and that took me closer to starting Karkhana along with my co-founders. So Karkhana acts as multiple entities and ideas at the same time. So we are a research organization, work with national and international universities to do research on pedagogy, lesson plan design. We actually also work as an innovation space where we design these materials that can actually be taken inside the classroom to make science slightly more fun, slightly more experiential. But we also act as a manufacturing space where we manufacture these materials and make sure these materials reach into the classroom. But they're not only reaching the classroom as just materials, but we also train the teachers, support them to convert their regular classroom into more of a like a classroom of a discovery. And we actually align all of these activities in the curriculum side. So it helps students study their science from the national curriculum side, but it teaches them in a far more experiential format. We started Karkhana as a maker space, as an innovation center, but slowly we realized that it's not the space that's required for innovation, but it's the mindset that's required for innovation. And we actually wanted to work on building the culture of experimentation in Nepal. Currently, we're working with 250 schools all across Nepal in more than 35 districts altogether, currently impacting around 1,500 classrooms where more than 42,000 children learn science in a more hands-on, experiential way, where they're not only learning science as a subject, but they're learning science as a mindset. So we usually find chemistry to be one of the most difficult subjects, right? So for example, when we're studying in school, so we have learned about atoms and how atoms are formed. We know that neutron, proton are in the center, the electrons are in the circle, like they are in orbits. So we actually give students this kind of model where they actually form atomic models. And they can actually form hydrogen, helium, lithium, and iron. So they can form different atoms, but not only that, they can also understand how 3D structures of these atoms are like maintained. So they can actually build these things out in the classroom, and they can actually compare these models with each other, and it's a lot of fun. Being inside a country like Nepal and being affected with things like earthquake, instability in the government, unstable education policies and policy at large, being affected with issues like COVID, blockade. So I think navigating all these things in a country that is developing its entrepreneurial ecosystem and trying to sustain the business in this kind of environment, I think you're largely firefighting every day. I hope to take this idea beyond Nepal as well over the course of the years. I think it's very viable in places in South Asia because we share a very similar socio-economic conditions where the science is still taught as a history lesson, as a subject that is needed to be learned to get done with the exams. So I think I want to challenge that idea that science is just a subject, but it's more of a mindset, it's a lifestyle, and when you adopt that kind of scientific thinking in your life, I think the life gets much experimental. Pretty excited about this idea that we might be able to solve problems not in the classrooms of Nepal, but also beyond Nepal, exploring places like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, where we think that we can make an impact, and in places like Darjeeling, Sikkim, where we might go out and use Nepali language to reach and work as well. Education is a very old process. Being progressive also does not mean being anti-traditional. So trying to blend what has worked in the past, but also trying to integrate what is there in the future. So we're trying to make sure that the learning is fun, impactful, and relevant as well.
जानुभएको छ, म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो होइन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल होइन। जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Vishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jai Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump, so the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Turikhel in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur. Nepal has also shown its proactiveness in differently abled cricket tournaments like the T20 World Cup for the blind in 2012 and the Asian Cricket Tournament for the deaf. Nepali women's national cricket team has also achieved remarkable success in a short period of time. The latest addition in Nepali cricket is the floodlit Tribhuvan University Cricket Stadium and the Nepal Premier League that has provided opportunity for Nepali players to rub shoulders with world-class players.
On the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had said Russia's President Vladimir Putin has failed to achieve his war goals. Zelensky later in a video addressed to the European Parliament urged the European Union to set out a clear timeline for his country's accession to the bloc on the 4th anniversary of the Russia's invasion.
And it is important for us to receive a clear date for joining the EU. Very important as a part of the diplomacy process right now, within all the diplomacy aimed at ending the war. And this is not just a wish. It's a clear understanding of how Putin will act. If there is no date, if there is no such guarantee, he will find a way to block Ukraine for decades by dividing you, by dividing Europe. We must protect ourselves from this.
The latest peace talks between Russia and Ukraine took place in Geneva earlier this month in the latest of several attempts to end the deadliest fighting in Europe since the World War II. The discussions reportedly focused on ceasefire agreements, humanitarian corridors, and mechanisms for prisoner exchanges. However, significant gaps still remain between the parties. Meanwhile, a number of European leaders have arrived in Kiev in a show of solidarity. Ukrainian officials emphasized that the visit aims to reaffirm continued political, economic, and military support for Ukraine amid ongoing hostilities. Kremlin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, however, says the goals of what Russia calls the special military operation have not been fully achieved yet. Meanwhile, during a ceremony held at NATO headquarters in Brussels, NATO chief Mark Rutte said a promise of help does not end a war.
Because a promise of help does not end a war. Ukraine needs ammunition today and every day until the bloodshed stops. Ukraine continues to blunt Russia's aggression, and despite Putin's posturing, Russia has failed to meet their ambitions on the battlefield.
UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, after opening his weekly cabinet meeting, said the UK stands with Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Let's be clear, in terms of getting to that just and lasting peace, it is Putin who is standing in the way. Volodymyr Zelensky has shown willing, he's taken the lead, it is Putin who is standing in the way, and that's why we must always double down on our support for Ukraine. That means capability, it means resource, it means more sanctions, and today I'm pleased that we're announcing the biggest package since 2022 in terms of sanctions package. That's 300 energy companies, Russian energy companies, that are being targeted.
The United Nations Security Council is also holding a meeting on Ukraine to commemorate the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion of the country. The ongoing war in Ukraine has caused widespread damage to infrastructure, homes, and public services across multiple regions. Recent Russian missile and artillery strikes have targeted energy plants, transportation networks, and civilian areas, leading to power outages, water shortages, and displacement of thousands of residents. Officials report that cities such as Zaporizhia and Kharkiv have suffered severe destruction of residential buildings, schools, and hospitals, compounding humanitarian needs. The World Bank, meanwhile, has updated its cost estimate for Ukraine's reconstruction, raising it to $588 billion from $524 billion in its previous report. US President Donald Trump's new global tariffs have come into effect at 10% despite a pledge to introduce them at a higher rate. After the Supreme Court blocked many of his sweeping import taxes on Friday, the president said he would introduce a 10% global rate. He then said on Saturday that the rate would be at 15%. However, according to official documents, the tariffs have been set at the lower rate from Tuesday, with no directive to increase the rate issued. An executive order signed by Trump on Friday said the temporary 10% import duty was intended to address fundamental international payments problems and continue the administration's work to rebalance their trade relationships to benefit American workers, farmers, and manufacturers. The administration is applying the levy under Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act, which allows the president to impose the charge for 150 days without congressional approval. The president has argued that tariffs are necessary to reduce America's trade deficit, the amount by which imports exceed the exports. But the deficit reached a fresh high last week, widening by 2.1% compared to 2024 and hitting roughly $1.2 trillion. The US has already collected at least $130 billion in tariffs using the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act (IEEPA). Trump has been highly critical of the Supreme Court's decision, calling it ridiculous, poorly written, and anti-American. In a 6-3 decision, justices in the highest US court found that the president had overstepped his powers when he introduced sweeping global tariffs last year using the IEEPA. On Monday, Trump threatened to impose high tariffs on countries that play games with recent trade deals after the Supreme Court's ruling. His warning came as countries around the world said they were evaluating what tariffs and trade deals would stand following the decision. Marking a key milestone in maritime diplomacy, India's training ship INS Sudarshani has departed Egypt to continue its trans-oceanic voyage under the Mahasagar vision. INS Sudarshani sailed out after its port call in Safaga, carrying forward India's seafaring legacy and reinforcing maritime cooperation with Egypt. The deployment is part of Lokayan 26, reflecting India's commitment to maritime diplomacy, goodwill, and global cooperation at sea. The vessel's transit through the Gulf of Aden and Red Sea formed a critical operational phase where the crew navigated challenging weather and dense shipping traffic. The visit to Safaga also reaffirmed the Indian Navy's continued maritime outreach under the Bridges of Friendship initiative, highlighting the strong and enduring partnership between India and Egypt. What began as a desperate rescue mission to save a trapped wild elephant turned into a heart-stopping scene of chaos and fear when the distressed animal charged at the very people who worked to free it. Villagers first spotted the elephant helplessly stuck inside a deep muddy pit, exhausted and covered in thick slush after repeated attempts to climb out. The massive tusker struggled for hours, trumpeting in frustration as its legs slipped back into the muck each time it tried to escape. Alarmed by the situation, local residents alerted wildlife officials, who later arrived with heavy machinery, including backhoe loaders, to dig a sloping pathway to help the animal climb out safely. For nearly an hour, officials and villagers worked side by side, carving out a path of freedom. Finally, with the newly created escape route ready, the exhausted elephant hauled itself out of the pit. What happened next left everyone stunned. Just moments after reaching solid ground, the elephant suddenly turned aggressive, trumpeting loudly before charging straight at the crowd. After several tense minutes, the elephant abruptly stopped its rampage and lumbered away into the nearby jungle. Officials believe the animal may have acted out of fear and confusion after a stressful and exhausting ordeal. As the ice continues to break, the region is expected to attract nature photographers and tourists eager to witness this rare transitional beauty of Turkey's eastern Anatolia. After a winter of record-breaking freezes, the iconic lakes of Bitlis have begun to shed their icy armor. An early rise in seasonal temperatures has triggered the thawing process across major water bodies, including Lake Nazik, Lake Arin, Lake Aygir, and the world-renowned Nemrut Crater Lake. The thawing process, particularly visible along the shorelines, is transforming the landscape from a solid white expanse back into a simmering blue waters. The most dramatic transformation is occurring at Lake Nazik, located in Ahalat district. Spanning 40 square kilometers, the lake traditionally remains frozen for at least 2 months every year. For the local population, the thaw is more important than just a visual spectacle. It is a lifeline. Fishing is the primary source of income for hundreds of families in the region who wait all winter for the awakening of the lake. The Islamic holy month of Ramadan has been long associated with a rich tapestry of customs and traditions that define its unique celebrations. Among these is the Ramadan lantern. A craftsman in Aleppo continues a 40-year tradition of making handmade lanterns, keeping alive a cultural craft that has been passed down through the generations. The artisan shapes lanterns using traditional techniques in his workshop, maintaining both the aesthetic and cultural value of the craft. The process involves collecting copper and glass, sorting the copper by type according to the lantern and design, engraving patterns, and finishing with polishing. Lanterns play a central role in the Ramadan celebration, symbolizing light, joy, and spiritual reflection. They are used to decorate homes, streets, mosques, restaurants, shops, and hotels throughout the holy month. Despite challenges such as rising material costs and limited markets, the craft continues to represent a symbol of Syrian heritage. A giant panda was seen frolicking with pure joy in the snow by the visitors at the Qingling Wildlife Park in Xi'an City, northwest China's Shanxi province. Meng Meng was quietly eating bamboo when the first flakes appeared. Excited to see the snow, the panda joyfully ran and tumbled around the outdoor closure, playing with its toys. According to zookeepers, giant pandas are untroubled by cold weather but are less partial to heat, so snowy weather brings perfect conditions for them to get outside and enjoy some health-boosting exercise. Visitors cheered as Meng Meng rolled onto her back and waved her paws in the air, turning the winter snowfall into a heartwarming spectacle at the Xi'an Zoo. Jewish worshippers gathered at Rachel's tomb, one of Judaism's most sacred sites, located on the northern outskirts of Bethlehem in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. The shrine, revered in Jewish tradition as the burial place of the biblical matriarch Rachel, draws thousands of visitors annually for the prayer and religious observance. The site is heavily secured and enclosed within an Israeli-built separation barrier that surrounds the compound. The ultra-Orthodox Jewish worshippers pray inside the fortified structure. The barrier, part of Israel's wider West Bank separation wall, remains a source of political controversy, with Palestinians viewing it as a symbol of occupation, while Israeli authorities cite security concerns. Rachel's tomb holds deep religious significance in Judaism and is also recognized in Islamic tradition, underscoring its sensitivity within the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
The Basel Carnival kicked off with the traditional festivities in Switzerland. At 4 a.m., the city lights went out and the carnival bands paraded through the streets of the Rhine city, carrying satirical lanterns on their heads to the sound of fifes and drums as thousands of spectators watched. Many lanterns mocked foreign policy, particularly Donald Trump, who was often caricatured in unflattering ways. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Basel Carnival is said to be over 700 years old. The three-day festival, known locally as Fastnacht, is Switzerland's largest carnival and draws visitors from across Europe for its unique blend of music, satire, and pageantry. Organizers emphasize the event's role in promoting civic engagement, with the lanterns often providing pointed social and political commentary on global and domestic issues. Authorities reported that the early morning procession passed without incident, with local police managing crowd control and ensuring public safety amid the dense throngs of spectators.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I'm Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the major news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's directions. This week's key issues include the enforcement of the Election Code of Conduct as Nepal prepares for the House of Representatives elections, with the Election Commission of Nepal operating a high-tech monitoring war room, and identifying nearly 500 violations nationwide, the highest reported in Janakpur Dham. Voting in hilly regions amid geographical fragility remains a challenge as authorities in Manang are clearing snow to ensure access to polling centers. The Election Commission of Nepal is also turning to social media influencers to boost voter turnout, recognizing that digital and social media platforms have become an integral part of country's political conversations. Additionally, the Commission has mandated candidates to open dedicated bank accounts for campaign financing alongside reflection on Democracy Day, that is Fagun 7 of Nepali date, and Nepal's democratic progress. As nations worldwide grapple with the digital distortion of democracy, Nepal's Election Commission is striking back ahead of the House of Representatives elections. With a high-tech war room manned by military, police and cyber experts, the Commission has identified nearly 500 cases of election code of conduct violation in record time. From blocking illegal exit polls to scrubbing toxic information from the web, here is how the front line of fair elections is being defended. Subeksha Razak brings more.
To ensure a level playing field, the Election Commission has set up a high-level monitoring unit to ensure that misinformation and disinformation aimed at influencing the March 5 House of Representatives elections. The Commission reveals that 467 reports of toxic information have been flagged since day one. 107 social media posts were removed, 32 news portal violations cleared, and 11 illegal sites were blocked.
हामी जिल्ला तहमा पनि निर्वाचन आचार संहिता अनुगमन अधिकृतहरू हुनुहुन्छ, दुईजना नेपाल सरकारका पदाधिकारीहरूलाई आयोगले तोकेको छ। उहाँहरूले पनि विभिन्न आचार संहिता विपरीत भएका घटनाहरूलाई चाहिँ तत्कालै नियन्त्रणमा लिएर त्यसलाई हटाउने, जस्तो भित्ति लेखन भएको छ, तुल ब्यानरहरू जताततै राखिएका छन् तिनीहरूलाई हटाउने, भित्ति लेखनहरूलाई मेट्ने, यस्तो कामहरू उहाँहरूले गरिरहनु भएको छ। एजुकेसनको रूपमा जसरी देशको संविधान, देशको कानुन हरेक नागरिकले जान्नुपर्छ भने जस्तै निर्वाचन आचार संहिता पनि स्टेक होल्डरले थाहा पाउनुपर्छ। आचार संहितामा के व्यवस्था छ त्यो कुरो जानकारी दिनका लागि हामीले यसलाई भोटर एजुकेसनको एउटा पाटोको रूपमा अहिले जसरी हामी भलन्टियरहरू वडा तहमा परिचालन गरिरहेका छौँ, उहाँहरूलाई पनि निर्वाचन आचार संहिताको विषयमा आम नागरिकलाई, मतदातालाई, अरू उम्मेदवारहरूलाई जानकारी गराउनु हुनका लागि हामीले अनुरोध गरेका छौँ, तालिम दिएका छौँ। उहाँहरूले पनि त्यो काम गरिरहनु भएको छ। त्यसले गर्दा धेरै मानिसहरूले आचार संहिता उल्लङ्घन गर्नु हुँदैन है भन्ने कुरो जानेर बस्नुभयो भने उल्लङ्घन हुन अलिक कम हुन्छ। त्यो कुरालाई पनि हामीले यताबाट पनि एजुकेसनबाट पनि उल्लङ्घन कम गरिरहेका छौँ र उल्लङ्घन भइसकेका घटनाहरूलाई पनि नियमित र व्यवस्थित गर्ने काम अगाडि बढिरहेका छौँ।
But the crackdown isn't just digital. Enforcement unit is equally active in the nooks and corners of the rural areas to the urban towns. Monitoring officers are currently targeting local representative campaigning outside their jurisdictions and the illegal use of children in political rallies. In the compliance checklist, provincial ministers must have EC consent to campaign. Local representatives are prohibited from campaigning within their own jurisdiction, and civil employees, teachers, and officials must remain neutral. And now the top violators are teachers and civil employees, provincial ministers, local representatives.
निर्वाचन आयोगको फेसबुक पेज, टिकटक अथवा हाम्रो वेबसाइटहरुमा चाहिँ हामीले आम नागरिकले पालना गर्ने पर्ने विषयहरु चाहिँ राखिदिएका छौं। त्यसमा नाटक छन्, गीति कथाहरु छन्, हैन, प्रचारका अन्य सामग्री पोस्टरहरु छ, एकदमै देखेर बुझिने खालको छ, एकदमै छिटो रिडिङ गर्नु पनि परेन, हैन। ती सामग्रीहरु हेरिदिनको लागि अनुरोध गर्छु।
The Commission's strategy is to fold enforcement and education. While the Cyber Bureau scrubs the web, thousands of volunteers are hitting the wards to educate voters. Now the voter think twice list. Don't share unverified info, avoid character assassination, and report toxic content. The message to citizens is clear. Think before you tag, comment, or share. In an era where a single post can derail an election, Nepal's proactive stance serves as a blueprint for digital age democracy.
As the House of Representatives election in Nepal approaches, political parties and their leaders have intensified campaigns nationwide. Amid the heightened election activities, numerous cases of code of conduct violation have been reported from across the country. The cases have gone nowhere as high as in Janakpur Dham, the capital of Madhya province. Rojina Rai with our correspondent Sanjay Saha looks into why Dhanusa is at top of the code of conduct violation list.
Election activities including door-to-door campaigns coupled by extensive social media use have intensified as Nepal's House of Representatives election approaches. Alongside incidents of violation of election code of conduct are increasing, with Dhanusa in Madhya province reported to have the highest number of breaches. Dhanusa District Administration Office has removed more than 20,000 publicity materials that violated the election code of conduct. As parties and candidates did not pay heed to the directives of the office, it had to remove the pamphlets and other campaign materials by itself. Though Chief District Officer of Dhanusa, Prem Prasad Luitel, has warned of strict legal action against violators, the trend remains unchecked.
जनकपुर क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ धेरै मात्रामा यो आचार संहिता उल्लङ्घनको घटना भएकोले यसलाई हामीले चाहिँ नियन्त्रण गरेका हौं आचार संहिता पालना गर्नुपर्छ भनेर यसलाई हटाएका हौं.
Since all districts in Madhya share border with India, many polling stations are classified as highly sensitive. Understanding the security sensitivity of most of the polling stations in Madhya region, the candidates and parties have been advised to be more responsible in code of conduct adherence.
तब त्यो कन्ट्रोल हुन्छ अनि जनताहरु पनि आफ्नो मतको निर्भीक रूपमा अधिकार प्रयोग गरेर मत दिन पाउँछन्.
People at large are concerned that continued violations could threaten the fairness of the election ahead.
In the Himalayan district of Solukhumbu, voters are eagerly preparing to cast their ballots. Despite the geographical fragility, voter enthusiasm remains strong in these sparsely populated areas. They are calling on candidates to prioritize basic development issues including healthcare, education, tourism, agriculture and employment opportunities. Aprila Gisinglama with our district correspondent from Okaldunga, Navraj Karki, explores more.
Residents of Dorpu Bazar in Solukhumbu district, a mountainous region in northeastern Nepal that is home to Mount Everest, say basic public services rather than grand political promises should define the agenda in the upcoming elections.
निशुल्क शिक्षाको व्यवस्था र निशुल्क स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ पाए हुन्थ्यो भन्ने चाहिँ मेरो चाहना छ. भ्रष्टाचार रहित अलि सुशासन को नीति नियमहरु पालन गरेर काम गर्ने छन् त्यस्तो खालको योग्य नेतालाई चाहिँ उम्मेदवार बनाएर त्यसलाई भोटिङ गर्ने चाहिँ हाम्रो योजना हो.
In this mountainous terrain, access to healthcare remains a serious challenge. Even for common illnesses, families are often compelled to take loans to travel long distances to Kathmandu for treatment. In higher altitude and hard-to-reach settlements, emergency cases can require costly helicopter evacuations due to the lack of equipped medical facilities. Education services are limited, road connectivity is poor, and employment opportunities remain scarce in the rugged Himalayan landscapes. Across Solukhumbu, citizens are calling for reliable roads capable of withstanding mountainous conditions, stable electricity, telecommunications, and safe drinking water. Many are also seeking greater investment in tourism, agriculture, and small enterprises to generate jobs in a region where the economy heavily depends on seasonal trekking and mountaineering. Solukhumbu has a population of just over 104,000 people, with more than 85,000 registered voters expected to participate in the upcoming polls. Despite geographical challenges, local officials report strong voter enthusiasm.
हामी प्रत्येक पालिकामा सम्बद्ध सरकारवालाहरूसँग अन्तर्क्रिया पनि जस्तै हामीले महाकुलुङमा गऱ्यौँ अन्तर्क्रिया हैन त्यसै गरी गएर सोताङमा पनि गऱ्यौँ मापेमा गऱ्यौँ अनि त्यसपछि गएर लिखुपिकेमा पनि हामीले अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमहरू गऱ्यौँ अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमको क्रममा चाहिँ उहाँहरूले मतदान गर्नलाई चाहिँ एकदमै उत्साहितै रहेको पाएका छौँ।
In the 2022 parliamentary election, CPN-UML candidate Manbir Rai won the district's Sor federal constituency, defeating his nearest rival from the Nepali Congress. This time, 12 candidates from major political parties are competing for the seat, as voters in Nepal's Himalayan heartland look for political solutions to long-standing development gaps.
Efforts are underway to clear massive snow drifts and create a path toward polling centers in the Narfa Bhumi rural municipality of Manang after access for monitoring became nearly impossible. All three security agencies in the district are currently working to clear the accumulated snow to facilitate movement. Travel to this region had come to a complete standstill during the winter as most local residents moved out of the district. Chief District Officer Narayan Pauril stated that the snow clearing operation aims to ensure that both voters and election officials can safely reach the villages to conduct the polls despite the extreme cold and heavy snowfall. There are 5 polling centers in this area serving a total of 488 voters. The implementation plan formulated by Nepal's Election Commission with the agreement of political parties to make the elections economical and transparent has not been effectively carried out. The Commission has mandated candidates to open a bank account to conduct election-related campaigns by February 15. However, so far only about 1/4 of the candidates have opened their bank accounts. Diksha Avasti brings us the story.
The Election Commission says it is closely monitoring compliance of its directives to the political parties and candidates to carry out campaign financial transactions through bank accounts. Since the Commission's issued directives as per the Operation and Management Procedures 2082, only out of 75 political parties and 3,406 direct candidates, only 7 political parties and 867 candidates have opened the required bank accounts. The Commission at the same time acknowledges that since this is the first time the rule has been enforced, specific punitive measures for non-compliance are still not clear.
This campaign financing or mandatory single bank account for the political parties and candidates is really a new venture for Election Commission. That's why we are requesting all the political parties and their candidates as well as the independent candidates to open separate account for election campaigns.
Still, the Commission has the right to make law to punish the offenders. The mandatory provision for political parties and candidates to open a separate bank account for election expenses has been introduced for the first time in Nepal's electoral history. According to the Commission, the measure is intended to discourage unregulated cash spending and ensure accountability in campaign financing. Officials say banks now have branches in all 753 local levels, making compliance feasible nationwide. The Commission has also directed candidates to spend up to Rs 3.3 million, depending on geographical factors, with monitoring of the funds disbursed from the candidates' accounts to ensure financial discipline. As the election is just 13 days away and campaigns are at its peak, the Commission expects more parties and candidates will come under the financial ambit.
The 3-day-long Democracy Day celebrations kicked off in Nepal, commemorating Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era, which as per Gregorian calendar fell on February 19, 1951. Despite numerous other moments when the struggle for democracy succeeded in the country, namely the 1990 Popular Movement and the 2006 Popular Movement too, Phagun 7 still stands out. Though attempts were made to change the date, the people and the country still commemorate the first seed of democracy sown in Nepal on February 19, 1951. On the eve of Democracy Day, we explored why Phagun 7 is the ultimate democracy day in Nepal. Amid numerous democratic movements and uprising in Nepal's modern history, Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era remains central to the foundation of democracy. The date, February 19, 2051, marks the country abolished 104-year-long Rana oligarchy. That was the beginning of democracy in Nepal, though the struggles that followed mark another chapter. Led by the then monarch Tribhuvan Birbikram Shah himself, the nearly 4-year-long struggle waged from outside the country culminated in the abolition of Rana regime. The seed of democracy was sown in Nepal on that very day, which even today, despite numerous other democratic movements down the timeline, remains relevant. The sapling of democracy was crushed 9 years later in 1960, and the period from 1961 till 1990 marked the party-less Panchayat regime. In 1990, People's Movement organized by Nepali Congress and Nepal Communist parties successfully restored democracy, with then King Birendra conceding absolute monarchy to more of a ceremonial role. In April 2006, the second popular movement was wedged with the involvement of the warring Maoist rebels against King Gyanendra's direct rule, once again restoring democracy in the country. In between these major moments and historic episodes, even today, Phagun 7, 2007 Bikram era stands out as the Democracy Day in Nepal, mainly because it was first ever such movement that sowed the seed of democracy. Political scientist Vesraj Ghimire describes Phagun 7 as the watershed moment in Nepali history, stamping its relevance forever.
It was a great day in Nepali history, when the Nepali people fight against the Rana oligarchy. Rana oligarchy means Rana autocracy. This system suppressed to Nepali people. Now we got democracy. Nepali people fight against the Rana oligarchy, and finally Nepal became a journey of entered the journey of political democracy, democratic system. So it was a victory for Nepali people. It was a land escape for Nepali democracy.
The significance of Phagun 7 can also be traced in the Martyrs' Day celebrations. Despite the country having more than 11,000 martyrs, the day is primarily dedicated to 4 martyrs who sacrificed their life in the struggle against the Rana regime in 1951. Amid ongoing political instability, governance challenges, and public demands for accountability, Democracy Day reminds leaders and citizens alike that democracy was hard-earned through struggle, and its preservation requires continued commitment, participation, and responsibility. With just less than 2 weeks before Nepal's House of Representatives elections, the Election Commission of Nepal is turning to social media influencers to boost voter turnout. This recognition of influence by Nepal's electoral body shows that digital social media are now actually a part of the country's political conversations. The move comes amid the new scenario of Nepal that is undergoing change following activism in digital platforms that shape people's engagement and influence, leading to a new electoral course in the country. Bijata Bhandari reports more.
With just over 2 weeks remaining before Nepal votes in the House of Representatives elections, the Election Commission Nepal has stepped up efforts to engage voters, this time by turning towards social media creators. On Tuesday, the Commission convened a special interaction program for digital influencers and online content creators, looking to expand voter awareness and participation ahead of polling day on March 5. In the 2022 House of Representatives election, voter turnout was around 61%, leaving nearly 40% of eligible voters absent from the ballot. Nepal now counts more than 14 million social media identities across platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, a significant number in a country of roughly 30 million people. For many Nepalis, especially younger audiences, social media has become a primary space for news consumption and civic discussion. The rise of post-Gen Z political
political movements in recent times has also highlighted the country's growing digital presence. Online platforms have not only shaped public debate, but even been used for choosing leadership candidates after the September 8 and 9 Gen Z protests, showing how influential digital spaces have become in Nepal's democratic process. Officials also highlighted that digital platforms can help bridge information gaps for people with low literacy levels by making the content visually accessible and easier to understand.
The objective of Election Commission is to reach the maximum voters, maximum population. Those content creators and social media, if they create positive materials, then they can convince common people positively for the election. That's why our common objective is to make this general election successful. That's why we are organizing this orientation program for those social media creators and influencers for the conducive environment for the upcoming general election.
Social media creators can play a constructive role by sharing verified details about voter registration, polling procedures, and citizens' rights, while helping counter misinformation during the campaign period. Influencers attending the program acknowledged their growing responsibility in shaping the public opinion.
अलि लङ टर्म जान्छु, म सोसियली एक्टिभ मान्छे हो र म सिङ्गो समाज जोड्न चाहन्छु र मेरो प्रस्तुति, मेरो कन्टेन्ट चाहिँ समाजको हितमा छ भन्नेहरूले चाहिँ कम्तीमा पनि त्यो कन्टेन्ट चुनाव पछि 21 गते हेर्दा पनि आफूलाई ग्लानि नहोस्, यो खालको कन्टेन्ट निर्माण गर्नुपर्छ। किनभने अहिले राजनीति पनि तरल छ, समाज विभाजित भएको छ। यस्तो बेलामा कन्टेन्ट क्रिएटरले जोड्ने हो। हामी यो बेला सुपर ग्लु हो, समाजलाई बाँड्ने खालका भन्दा पनि यो विभाजित समाजलाई एक बनाउने खालको कन्टेन्ट हुनुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई।
The focus needs to be aimed at strengthening democratic participation and not on promoting any political force. As Nepal heads to the polls, the expanding reach of social media and the creators who drive conversations online could play a pivotal role in informing voters and encouraging broader participation at the ballot box. That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with major highlights of the week. Thank you for watching NTV World. A city known for its legacy, Kirtipur. Locals also call it Kipu in their own dialect. It is the largest ancient settlement after Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The city still has an impressive Malla-era neighborhood. It is also home to Taudaha, the largest lake in the Kathmandu Valley. There are temples, monasteries, bihars, and stupas for both Hindu and Buddhist devotees, along with countless festivals and ritual celebrations that altogether give Kirtipur its distinct and special character. With its ancient Newar settlements, this place is a beautiful convergence of Newar culture and heritage.
The 2nd century settlements here, the temples and the stupas, along with the legends and the faiths surrounding them, are fascinating. Situated beside the Kathmandu Valley, which once was a natural lake itself, Kirtipur developed as a flourishing hub of early settlement and culture. Because of this, the area is exceptionally valuable for historical and cultural study. A long time ago, the children of Kirtipur's farming families apparently made a clay tiger to play with while herding sheep and goats. To make that tiger look even more lifelike, they wanted to add a tongue. So they left their sheep and goats nearby and went into the forest to gather leaves for it. Upon returning, the children found their sheep and goats missing. And when they investigated, the clay tiger opened its blood-red mouth and claimed to have eaten the animals. Apparently, what had happened was that the deity Bhairav, a Hindu deity, had entered the clay tiger. In their anger, the children then cursed the clay tiger so that its mouth would remain perpetually open. This is the famous legend behind the Bagh Bhairav temple as remembered by the residents of Kirtipur. Bagh Bhairav is the revered deity of Kirtipur's residents. Situated in Kirtipur, this temple is accompanied by several smaller temples, many of which can be traced back to the 2nd century according to the historical records. Among them are temples dedicated to Yamaleshwar, Narayan, Bhavani Shankar, Ramchandra, Manavinayak, Vishwakarma, Sridhar Vishnu and Mool Ganesh, all of which were constructed in the 2nd century as per many inscriptions. The historical records mention that the Bagh Bhairav temple, originally made by Shivadev, was again renovated in the 16th century by Jagatpal Varma into a 3-tiered pagoda style. This makes the temple a central attraction of Kirtipur. Most Newar settlements, which are one of Nepal's ethnic groups, are adorned with temples and stupas. So Kirtipur is home to countless temples and stupas as well, too many to count by hand. The Uma Maheshwar temple here is located at the highest point in Kirtipur. From here, one can take in panoramic views of the entire Kathmandu Valley. Swayambhu, an ancient Buddhist stupa, is clearly visible from this vantage point. It is said that the temple's elevation is roughly the same as that of Swayambhu's. On clear days, the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, can also be seen from here. Uma Maheshwar, representing the Hindu deities of Shiva and Parvati in another form, is considered a symbol of family happiness and love. The temple's tiered roofs, its design, the surrounding houses, and the views are not only beautiful but also reflect its historical significance. It is an excellent place to explore and spend an entire day. Kirtipur is special not only for Hindu devotees but also for Buddhists. Its stupas and vihars are ideal for the study, research, and promotion of Buddhism. The Chilancho Stupa, located atop the hill, is said by historians to have been built during Emperor Ashok's visit to Nepal. Its renovation, however, took place in the 16th century during the time of Jagatpal Varma. This site is ideal for prayer and meditation. It feels like Chilancho spreads wisdom along with its fluttering flags under the open sky. It is said that seeing the hills surrounding the Chilancho Stupa, Prithvinarayan Shaha, the 18th century king who unified Nepal, coveted Kirtipur. His attempts to capture Kirtipur, intended to make conquering Kathmandu, Bhaktapur and Patan easier, only succeeded on the third try. Facing south is Ratnasambhav, mounted on a horse and showing the Varad Mudra, which is a gesture of generosity and granting boons. Facing north is Amitabh, seated on a peacock in the meditation mudra, symbolizing infinite light and compassion. Facing west is Amogha, seated on a Garud with the Nag hood in Abhay mudra, a gesture of fearlessness and protection. At the center sits Vairochan, mounted on a lion and invisible, imparting profound knowledge of Buddhism. The presence of these 5 Buddhas is believed to guide those who have lost their way, whether it is in spiritual seeking or in travel. The stupas, vajras, and stone statues here are enchanting, capable of captivating visitors for hours. In Panga of Kirtipur, there is a cremation site. The deceased of the Panga community are cremated here, but this place is different from others. According to local tradition, one cannot stay behind after setting the body on fire. Normally in other places in Hindu tradition, after the cremation, the ashes are collected after a process that can take up to hours. Here, however, bodies are covered with 9 pieces of wood for adults and 7 for children, along with water-soaked straw. Then the fire is lit before it is time to leave the site. This tradition is only for the people of Panga. Next to the burial ground stands the Vishnu Devi temple, one of the several Shakti Peeth or sacred power sites of the people of Kirtipur. This stupa houses the Pancha Buddha, the depiction of 5 knowledge of Buddha. Facing east is Akshobhya, mounted on an elephant and with earth-touching gestures. The area is peaceful and known for its spiritual atmosphere. Kirtipur is not only famous for its monasteries and chaityas, it is also rich in history and culture. This place is known for its year-round festivals, rituals, and vibrant cultural way of life. Among the important festivals are the Satgaunle Jatra, Gai Jatra, Bagh Bhairav Jatra, and Indrayani Jatra. On the day of Gai Jatra, a special dance is performed here. The Dhyadhya Papa dance, also called Katmar, is a ceremonial performance where dancers in unique costumes move to traditional music. It is an integral part of Kirtipur's cultural identity. Here, visitors can also find various hotels, homestays, and Newari restaurants. The Newari-style houses and pathways decorated with traditional materials are truly captivating, and the popular Newari restaurants, which draw people from all around, are plentiful. A beautiful example of Newari culture is Newari food, which include famous dishes like bara, yomari, and samay bhaji. And visitors relish these dishes with great enjoyment. Just before entering Kirtipur, you arrive at another beautiful spot, Taudaha. Known for its environmental, cultural, and religious significance, this pond stretches about 500 meters in length and 400 meters in width. It is said to be shaped like a funnel. Believed to be dwelling place of Karkotak Nag, a serpent king in Hindu-Buddhist mythology, this lake is closely linked to the legends of Manjushri, a Hindu-Buddhist mythological figure, and the Rato Machindranath Jatra, one of Nepal's oldest chariot festivals. According to the folklore, when the Kathmandu Valley was still a lake, Manjushri cut open the hills to draw the water. The serpents living there were left without a home, so Bhimsen, a powerful heroic figure in Nepali folklore, created Taudaha to shelter them. The famous photo or vest displayed during the Rato Machindranath Jatra also traces its origins to Karkotak Nagraj and Taudaha. Legend says the vest belonged to Karkotak Nagraj, who gifted it to a farmer after the farmer cured his sick serpent queen. When the farmer later lost the vest, the dispute over who truly owned it became the story behind the festival where the vest is displayed. Taudaha is rich not only in religious and cultural significance but also in biodiversity. The area is home to 38 species of plants, 36 species of insects, and 116 types of birds. Swans gliding across the lake, birds perched in nearby trees, colorful fish swimming below, and small snakes seen occasionally along the banks. All of it make it easy to lose track of time while observing this vibrant ecosystem. In winter, birds migrate here from Siberia, Mongolia, and Tibet to escape the cold. Species such as lahare, kalihas, khoya, malak, and birds like great cormorant and Indian pond heron are also found here at Taudaha. These migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers from various countries to reach this lake. As a wetland area, Taudaha hosts water, land, vegetation, aquatic animals, amphibians, and other wildlife all in one place. For this reason, the lake attracts everyone from casual tourists to students conducting research. As tourist numbers increase, so have vendors selling fish feed around Taudaha. These traders who stay around the lake from morning to evening, but believing the snakes to represent Karkotak Nagraj, the traders drive them away by just burning incense. Just before reaching Taudaha, Jobar is a unique tourist spot in Kirtipur. Manjushri Park here is one of the popular picnic destinations. The cave, Jobar Gorge, Suspension Bridge, Dalvinayak Temple, and Adinath Lokeshwar Temple are all must-visit sites. This gorge is said to be where Manjushri cut the hills to drain water from the Kathmandu Valley, making it suitable for human settlement. Therefore, this place holds historical and mythological significance. Jalvinayak Temple is located along the Bagmati River. Among Kathmandu Valley's four main Ganesh temples, Surya Vinayak, Chandra Vinayak, and Ashok Vinayak, Jalvinayak is one of them. It is built in traditional pagoda style. Toran or archways, tudal or roof struts, and gajur or pinnacles enhance its architectural beauty. So this temple is significant both for religious faith and for historical and architectural value. Spread over 14.76 square kilometers, Kirtipur has many places to explore, which cannot be fully visited in a single day. Its heritage, lifestyle, and festivals are all unique. To guide tourists before visiting, a tourist information and service center has been established. It lies near the Kirtipur's entry point. This center provides information about major tourist attractions and helps make the visit easier. Exploring Kirtipur's historical, religious, cultural, and natural sites is incredibly enchanting. These sites are witnesses to history. For research and study, visiting Kirtipur is essential. The local lifestyle, daily life, the breeze, and the scent of the soil here, all of it are very special. In modern times, as ancient civilizations threaten to vanish, Kirtipur strives to maintain its ancient identity. Its monasteries, temples, chaityas, ponds, markets, and even the language reflect this heritage. Kirtipur is not just a tourist destination. It offers experiences of meditation and knowledge, and of peace and beauty. Its stories and hospitality attract everyone. To witness and feel the unique confluence of history, culture, and nature, visiting Kirtipur is a must, not just once, but again and again.
Nepal government decides to grant a 3-day nationwide public holiday for March 5 elections, approves proposal to form Gen Z Council. Nepal's Election Commission pledges 24-hour results for March 5 elections, warns all against misinformation. Prime Minister Karki reaffirms Nepal's human rights commitment in a video address to the UN and links upcoming election to Gen Z movement for reform. Holy festivities begin across Nepal as Kathmandu raises ceremonial pole. Spring celebrations kick off with Mithila Parikrama and vibrant traditions. Ukraine President Zelensky calls Russian President Putin's invasion a failure, marking 4 years since Russia's attack. And domestic and international supports pours in to support Sabitra Bhandari's treatment. The national team captain expresses gratitude. Good evening, I am April Singh Lama and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours. Now the news in details. To facilitate the upcoming general election on March 5th, the Nepal government has declared a 3-day nationwide public holiday starting March 4th. Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal also confirmed a $4 million election grant from China and approval of the 1,200 megawatt Budi Gandaki hydropower project's financial model. Other key decisions include appointing Dr. Diwakar Bhatta to the Kathmandu Consumer Court and the formation of a new Gen Z Council.
चीन सरकारबाट प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचनको लागि प्रदान गर्ने प्रस्तावित 4 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको नगद अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, चालू आर्थिक वर्षको विनियोजित बजेट तथा कार्यक्रममा उल्लेख भए बमोजिम बुढी गण्डकी जलाशययुक्त जलविद्युत आयोजनाको वित्तीय लगानी ढाँचा स्वीकृत गर्ने, काठमाडौँ जिल्ला अदालतका माननीय जिल्ला न्यायाधीश डाक्टर दिवाकर भट्टलाई काठमाडौँ जिल्ला अदालतको काम समेत हेर्ने गरी उपभोक्ता अदालत काठमाडौँको अध्यक्ष तोक्ने, बीमा ऐन 2079 को दफा 140 बमोजिमको कसुर सम्बन्धी मुद्दाको कारबाही र किनारा गर्न जिल्ला अदालतलाई तोक्ने, विक्रम सम्वत 2083 साल वैशाख 1 गतेदेखि चैत्र मसान्तसम्म 1 वर्षभरि दिइने सार्वजनिक बिदा निर्धारण गर्ने, मिति 2082 11-21 गते हुने प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचन 2082 को सन्दर्भमा मिति 2082 फागुन 20 गतेदेखि 22 गतेसम्म 3 दिन मुलुकभर सार्वजनिक बिदा दिने र अन्त्यमा जेनजी परिषद गठन गर्ने।
In a powerful address to the UN Human Rights Council, Prime Minister Sushila Karki reaffirms Nepal's commitment to social justice and the completion of transitional justice. Prime Minister Karki credited the recent Gen Z movement for driving the nation toward the March 5th elections with a mission to end corruption. However, a stark UN assessment warns that Nepal is currently off track on all sustainable development goals. The Prime Minister emphasized that without urgent action against climate risks and growing inequality, these systemic challenges threaten to undermine the country's democratic and development gains. We will look into this later in our issue of the day. Now, as spring settles over Nepal, the vibrant festival of Holi has officially begun. In Kathmandu, the traditional cheer pole was erected at Basantapur today, marking the start of a week-long celebration for the hilly regions. Simultaneously, the Tarai region commenced its festivities with the Mithila Madhyama Parikrama, where devotees offer colors to the idols of Ram and Sita. From the historic courtyards of the capital to the sacred grounds of Mithila, the festival continues to symbolize the victory of good over evil and the renewal of social harmony. More on this in our cover story later in the bulletin. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to take over Ukraine when he invaded 4 years ago, but he failed to achieve this and other war goals. In a video address marking the 4-year anniversary of Russia's invasion, Zelensky adds that Ukraine is ready to do everything it can to secure a strong, lasting peace.
Путін не досягнув своїх цілей, не зламав
українців не переміг в цій війні. Ми зберегли Україну, і ми зробимо все, щоб здобути мир і щоб була справедливість. До весни менше тижня ми долаємо найважчу зиму в історії. Це факт. І це дуже непросто. Непросто всім вам. Але так само, як у перший день війни, ми продовжуємо будувати своє завтра. Крок за кроком, справа за справою, здобуток за здобутком.
In an incredible display of solidarity, the Nepali public has raised over 14.5 million Nepali rupees in less than 24 hours for the medical treatment of national football captain Savitra Bhandari, also known as Samba. Following her emotional appeal, over 10 million rupees were collected locally with an additional 4.5 million from international supporters. Overwhelmed by the response, Samba has officially closed all donation channels, thanking her fans for their life-saving support and vowing to return to the pitch stronger than ever. Coming up, Prime Minister Sushila Karki addresses the UN on Nepal's democratic future and the impact of the Gen Z movement on the upcoming elections. Plus, a sobering UN assessment warns that rising climate risks and inequality have pushed Nepal off track for its sustainable development goals. We'll have the full report after the break. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Welcome back. In a video addressed to the 61st UN Human Rights Council, Prime Minister Sushila Karki reaffirmed Nepal's unwavering commitment to democracy, civil liberties and constitutional fundamental rights. Prime Minister Karki emphasized the government's ongoing efforts to resolve transitional justice by providing victims with both reparations and closure. Notably, the Prime Minister linked the upcoming March 5 elections to the recent Gen Z protest movement, which demanded systemic reform and end to corruption. The Prime Minister assured the international community that Nepal is strictly focused on structural reforms to ensure an accountable, transparent and responsive governance model moving forward.
Mr. President, Mr. High Commissioner, Excellencies, at the outset, I would like to congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election as a President of Human Rights Council for 2026. Nepal assures its full support in discharging your mandate. We are meeting at a critical time. The world is facing several crises, some conventional and some emerging. Climate change, increasing conflict and severe disaster are to name a few. And most importantly, these crises are not stand-alone. They are intertwined and complex. Multilateralism itself is being tested, but our commitment to human rights is still strong and unflinching. We must uphold the universality of human rights despite several odds and uncertainties. Mr. President, Nepal is committed to protect and promote human rights. Our journey to democracy and freedom is a testimony to our consistent effort to ensure human rights. We have taken several measures, policy, legal, and institutional, to reflect our commitment in practice. Now our priority is to institutionalize human rights and make it a culture.
Nepal's leadership has reaffirmed its commitment to human rights and accountable governance, yet rising emissions, growing inequality and climate risks threaten to undo development gains. A recent UN assessment reveals that Nepal, along with other countries in Asia and the Pacific, is off track on all sustainable development goals. Without urgent action, this could deepen poverty, widen inequality and intensify climate and environmental crises. Our colleague Bijeta Bhandari takes a look at the progress.
The 2030 Sustainable Development Goals have been quite the popular phrase for a while. A set of 17 goals geared towards sustainable development, adopted by all 193 member states of the United Nations in 2015. But multiple disruptions from the global pandemic and cost of living crisis to regional conflicts and setbacks in climate action have all led to a sobering assessment. As the world steps into 2026, with less than 4 years to go until the 2030 deadline, just how far behind are we on reaching these sustainable development goals? The latest Asia-Pacific SDG Progress Report 2026 offers an unsparing answer. The Asia-Pacific region is not on track to achieve any of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. At the current pace, 88% of the measurable targets are expected to be missed. While countries have made progress in reducing poverty, improving health outcomes, and expanding industry and infrastructure, these gains are being undermined by environmental decline and persistent inequality. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. Biodiversity loss is accelerating. Marine ecosystems are under growing pressure. The report warns that development across the region remains deeply unbalanced and increasingly unsustainable. In Nepal, the picture is mixed. Extreme poverty has dropped sharply over the past 3 decades. Access to electricity has reached 94% of the population. Maternal and child mortality rates have declined significantly. However, food insecurity has increased in recent years, with millions facing moderate to severe shortages, and the country remains highly vulnerable to climate impacts. In May of 2025, Nepal submitted its third nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement. The plan emphasizes adaptation measures including early warning systems, integrated watershed management, and reducing risks from glacial lake outburst floods. But the financial requirements are significant, up to $20 billion for adaptation and nearly $74 billion for mitigation. With the 2030 deadline fast approaching, the message from global and regional assessments is clear. Progress must accelerate. For Nepal's upcoming new governance, turning commitments into measurable action, mobilizing climate finance, and ensuring policy coherence can be critical to delivering on both sustainable development and human rights promises before the 2030 clock runs out.
That was our issue of the day. Now coming up, the vibrant colors of Holi take over Nepal as ancient rituals in Kathmandu and the Tarai mark the official arrival of spring. Stay with us as we take you to the heart of the celebrations, from the historic courtyards of the capital to the sacred grounds of Mithila. You're watching NTV World. Time for Cover Story. Holi, known as Phagu Purnima in Nepal, is a vibrant festival of colors celebrated nationwide as a herald of spring and a reminder of the victory of good over evil. It also fosters a sense of brotherhood and friendship throughout the country. This lively festival has begun across Nepal with the ceremonial raising of a bamboo pole decorated with colorful cloth strips in the capital. Meanwhile, the Tarai region formally marked the beginning of Holi on Monday with the Mithila Madhyama Parikrama. Our colleague Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Jayanta Thakur from Dhanusa have more on the Festival of Colors.
As spring gently settles over Nepal, the vibrant festival of Holi, known as Phagu Purnima, begins with an age-old ritual in the capital, Kathmandu. The festival is celebrated over 2 consecutive days. The hilly region, including Kathmandu, celebrates on the full moon day of February, while the Tarai region celebrates 1 day later. Although the 2 regions observe the festival on different days, the essence remains the same, symbolizing the arrival of spring, the victory of good over evil, and the playful love of Lord Krishna and Radha. At Basantapur in Kathmandu, 1 week ahead of the festival, ceremonial cheer, a bamboo pole decorated with colorful strips of cloth, is erected at an auspicious hour, marking the official start of the festival. The erecting the pole has historically been carried out by the local Manandar community. This ritual is known as Chir Soyagu. The pole stands for about a week, during which the surrounding area becomes a focal point for celebrations. At the end of the festival, the bamboo pole is taken down and burned in a ceremonial bonfire at Turikel. People often collect pieces of cloth from the pole to keep in their homes, believing they bring good luck. Far to the south, in the Mithila region, the vibrant festival also begins with the Mithila Madhyama Parikrama, or the circumambulation of the region. The ritual is considered the traditional and formal starting point of holy festival in the Mithila Anchal region of Nepal. Participants, including saints and devotees, smear abir, colored powder, on one another and offer it to the idols of Lord Ram and Sita, marking the commencement of the festival. This tradition commemorates the belief that Lord Ram and Janaki once celebrated Holi in this sacred land during the Treta Yuga, one of 4 ages in Hindu cosmology. Devotees begin parikrama on Falgun Shukla Pratibhada and travel through several holy sites before reaching Kanchanban on Falgun Shukla Saptami. The area revered for the confluence of the Ichavati and Bira Raja rivers becomes a vibrant gathering place for saints, temple heads, community leaders, and devotees. From the historic courtyards of Kathmandu to the sacred grounds of Mithila, Holi, one of Nepal's auspicious Hindu festival, carries a deep religious significance. Beyond that, it rejuvenates the heart and soul with renewed energy, encouraging people to forgive, forget, and embrace new beginnings. Rosina Rai reporting for NTV World.
And that wraps up our cover story. Moving on to other national news. The government has decided to further beef up security arrangement in view of the upcoming House of Representatives election. A meeting presided over by the Central Security Committee Chair and Minister for Home Affairs, Om Prakash Aryal, at the Home Ministry today decided to increase extra force in a way to be rapidly mobilized from all 4 security agencies for ensuring effective security arrangement. On the occasion, Home Minister Aryal instructed the security agencies to ensure flawless security management in a mutual coordinated manner. Present on the occasion were high-placed officials of all 4 security agencies. In a landmark move for gender equality in governance, the Election Commission has appointed women to lead nearly all constituencies in the capital for the upcoming March 5th polls. Out of Kathmandu's 10 election districts, 9 are now headed by female chief voting officers. District Information Officer Srijana Rayamaji Pokhrel notes that this decision stems from the exceptional organizational success women have demonstrated in past elections. The newly appointed officers expressed their excitement today, pledging to prioritize accessibility for senior citizens and voters with disabilities. Beyond administrative efficiency, officials believe that seeing women in leadership at polling stations will boost the confidence and turnout of female voters across the city. As the nation gears up for the vote, Kathmandu's election management is officially in the hands of women. And in this context, we asked the women election officers what unique challenges they have experienced while working. Let's take a look.
चुनौती त विगतका चुनावहरूमा पनि चुनौती नै हुने थियो हैन अहिलेकोमा त जेनजी आन्दोलनपछि बाहिरी हल्लाहरू मतलब मिडियामा पनि चुनौतीका कुरा सुन्नेछ तर अब सरकारले निर्वाचन गर्नै लागेको अवस्था छ अब तालिमै भइसक्यो अरु न्यायाधीश पुलिस अरु अन्य कुराहरू सबै खटाइसकेको हुँदाखेरि अब यसलाई हामीले सहज रूपमा सम्पन्न गर्नुपर्छ चुनौती भए पनि
शान्तिपूर्ण ढंगले चुनाव गराउनका लागि हामीले पाएको जिम्मेवारी वहन गर्न एकदम अग्रसर छौं त्यहाँ गर्नुपर्ने सर्वोत्तरले बैठकदेखि लिएर हरेक काममा चाहिँ सहज तरिकाले चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ एउटा टिम वर्क गरेर है राम्रो तरिकाले निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गराउन चाहिँ हामी एकदमै उत्साहित भएर लागि परेका छौं
फर्स्ट एक्सपिरियन्स नै हो मैले भन्दा पहिला चाहिँ निर्वाचनै गराएको चाहिँ थिएन अब अघि सरसँग पनि कुरा भयो हाम्रो मतदान अधिकृत सरसँग अब उहाँले चाहिँ ठीक छ हामी मिलेर गर्नुपर्ला भन्नुभएको छ अब अहिलेसम्म एकदमै एक्साइटेड छु है के हुन्छ कस्तो हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ अब हेरौं के हुन्छ म त एकदम लाइक सबै म्यानेज वेमै हुन्छ होला भनेर एक्सपेक्ट गर्दैछु
अब अलिअलि समाजको महिला भनेर हेर्ने दृष्टिकोणले चाहिँ गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति फरक पर्छ तर अब काठमाडौँमा अलिकति सिभिलाइज जनशक्तिहरू हुनुहुन्छ भनेर त्यस्तो साह्रै केही गर्नै सक्दैन महिलाले भन्ने चाहिँ सोच्नुहुन्न एउटा कुरा त्यो उहाँहरूको अरूको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट त्यो लाग्छ अर्को चाहिँ आफूले पनि म महिला हो म केही गर्न सक्दिनँ भनेर आफ्नो पनि एटिट्युडमा परिवर्तन ल्याउनु पर्छ र अब हामी चाहिँ अलिकति कम्पिटेन्ट भएर प्रस्तुत हुनुपर्छ
निर्वाचन आयोगले नै जस्तो हाम्रो कानुनमै त सेपरेट व्यवस्था त्यसको लागि मैले नै मतलब त्यही अनुसार त गर्नु परिहाल्यो हैन उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ अब जस्तो लाइन बस्नु नपर्ने हैन उहाँहरूलाई आफूले सक्दो सहयोग गर्ने भन्ने कुरा नै छ त्यही अनुसार नै सबै केन्द्रहरूमा व्यवस्था गरिएको छ
निर्वाचनमा योभन्दा अगाडि पनि खटिएका थियौं हैन हामीले त्यहाँ गएर हामीलाई चुनौती चाहिँ के छ भन्नुहुन्छ भने आफ्नो मतदान केन्द्रमा गएर त्यहाँका सर्वदलीय सर्वपक्षीय भेला गर्नुपर्छ हामीले उहाँहरुसँग चाहिँ एउटा स्वाद र वातावरणमा उहाँहरूलाई बोलाएर हाम्रा निर्वाचन मतदानमा खटिने कर्मचारी मतदान अधिकृतको काम कर्तव्य यस्तो छ सहायक मतदान अधिकृतको यस्तो छ सहायक कर्मचारीको यस्तो छ भनेर उहाँहरूलाई हामीले बुझाउन सक्नुपर्छ र निष्पक्ष रहित मतदान गर्नु चाहिँ हाम्रो एकदमै ठूलो एउटा लक्ष्य हुन्छ
Newly appointed ambassadors from different countries to Nepal presented their letter of credence before President Ramchandra Paudel today. At a special ceremony held at Sheetal Niwas, the office of the President, President Paudel received letters of credence from 5 newly appointed ambassadors, 3 residents and 2 non-residents, according to the office of the President. Resident ambassadors presenting their credentials are Australian Ambassador to Nepal, Simon George Ernst, Ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Nepal, Fahd Mohammad Azmi Nikar, and Ambassador of China, Zhang Maoming. Likewise, non-resident ambassadors submitting their credentials are Ambassador of the Maldives to Nepal, Aysat Azima, and Ambassador of Turkey to Nepal, Ali Murkad Ersoy. In a historic leap for indigenous preservation, the Kirat people have officially brought the centuries-old Yaktung Limbu language into the digital age with the launch of a dedicated Unicode keyboard and mobile applications. Our colleagues Sarah Sapsanama Rai and Pawan Barsa Shah explore.
The Kirat people, one of Nepal's indigenous communities, known for their rich traditions, histories and unique languages, have taken a bold step into the digital era. On Tuesday, the Yaktung Limbu language and its traditional Sirijanga script were officially launched online with a Unicode keyboard and Android applications. Now that the language and script are embedded in the digital form, it makes easier for the community to write, communicate and preserve their heritage in everyday life. Coordinator of Kirat Yaktung Chumlung Nepal, Professor Prem Yakten Limbu said, in the digital age, preserving language is not just a matter of pride, but a matter of survival, and that this initiative was a gift to future generations.
र जति धेरै प्रयोग भयो उति चाहिँ हाम्रो डिजिटलाइजेसनको महत्त्वपूर्ण काम हो। त्यसैले यसमा हामीले कुनै पनि हेजिटेट गर्नु हुँदैन। हामी किराँत याक्थुङ चुम्लुङको सेल्फ कन्ट्रिब्युसन आफ्नै हाम्रो आइडेन्टिटीमा निर्माण हुने एक्ट चाहिँ यो हो।
Founder of Kirat Yakthung Chumlung Nepal, Nanda Kandangwa added, digitizing their script ensured their stories, culture and the rhythm of daily life would remain alive and accessible to everyone in the community.
समयहरु जसरी परिवर्तन हुँदै गइरहेको छ, टेक्नोलोजीको विकास चाहिँ यसरी भइरहेको छ र टेक्नोलोजी बिना हामी अगाडि बढ्न सक्ने अवस्था हुँदैन र त्यस्तो अवस्थामा यस्तो कुराहरुलाई विकास गरेर अगाडि बढ्ने जुन प्लान गरेको छ, जुन खालको काम गरेको छ, त्यो चाहिँ प्रशंसनीय छ।
With support from Kirat Yakthung Chumlung, South Korea, Yakthung Limbu now reaches beyond local borders. From keyboards to mobile applications, the language can be read, written, and shared. This effort connects generations and keeps centuries of culture vibrant, relevant, and thriving in a modern digital world. Sarah Sapsanamarai with Pawan Barsha Shah for NTV World, Kathmandu.
Now in other news, unexpected late-season snowfall has blanketed the high-altitude regions of Dolakha and Okhaldunga. Starting this afternoon, heavy snow covered major hubs like Kalingchok and Soilung, while district headquarters faced thunderstorms and hail. Local hotel owners are welcoming a sudden surge in tourists, and potato farmers are celebrating the moisture for their upcoming harvest. However, the weather has brought challenges with thick hail and snow disrupting traffic in Okhaldunga's Thade region. While light rain hit Kathmandu today, forecasters say conditions will improve as the current low-pressure system weakens. International news lined up next. Before that, a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal government decides to grant a 3-day nationwide public holiday for March 5 elections. Approves proposal to form Gen Z Council. Nepal's Election Commission pledges 24-hour results for March 5 elections. Warns all against misinformation. Prime Minister Karki reaffirms Nepal's human rights commitment in a video address to the UN. Links upcoming election to Gen Z movement for reform. Holi festivities begin across Nepal as Kathmandu raises ceremonial poles. Spring celebrations kick off with Mithila, Parikrama and vibrant traditions. Ukraine President Zelensky calls Russian President Putin's invasion a failure, marking 4 years since Russia's attack. And domestic and international support pours in to support Savitra Bhandari's treatment. The national team captain expresses gratitude. A major storm hit the U.S. East Coast, bringing record-breaking snow that caused disruptions for millions and thousands of flight cancellations. Parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts have seen nearly 37 inches of snowfall, with more than 19 inches in New York City's Central Park, according to the National Weather Service. Weather warnings stretched from North Carolina to northern Maine, with some in place further north in parts of eastern Canada. More than 600,000 properties on the U.S. East Coast endured power outages, while the Boston Globe, a major U.S. newspaper, said it will not go to print for the first time in its 153-year history due to the storm. The so-called nor'easter is forecast to move away from the U.S. later today and across coastal parts of eastern Canada, though strong winds are expected to persist. Iran has firmly dismissed speculations about a potential interim agreement with the United States, stating that such claims have no basis. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei addressed numerous rumors regarding the format and substance of ongoing negotiations between Tehran and Washington at a press conference on Monday. He underlined that none of the details circulating are confirmed by Iran, especially those regarding an interim agreement, which he says has no basis. Baghei stressed that negotiation aimed at forcing one side to unilaterally accept the other's demands will not succeed. particularly with Iran. Iran believes in the legitimacy of its views regarding nuclear-related issues and the lifting of sanctions and will continue to advance this process if it can yield results. Oman, meanwhile, has been effortful as it has been serving as a mediator between Iran and the US in their latest talks. Moving on, aviation and disaster response officials inspected the wreckage of a chartered air ambulance that crashed in the eastern Indian state of Jharkhand, killing all 7 people on board. The aircraft took off Monday evening from Ranchi, the state capital, and was en route to New Delhi. All 7 occupants, including the patient, medical staff and flight crew, were confirmed dead at the scene. Preliminary reports indicate the aircraft went down shortly after departure. India's civil aviation authorities have launched a formal investigation to determine the cause of the crash, with technical teams collecting flight data and examining maintenance and operational records. Officials said further details would be released pending forensic analysis and recovery of onboard recording equipment. France on Tuesday staged a large-scale high-intensity military drill as part of the Orion 26 exercise, deploying forces aboard the helicopter carrier FS Touraine off the western coast. The exercise, conducted in the port city of Saint-Nazaire, simulates a scenario in which French territory has been invaded, requiring rapid mobilization and counter-offensive operations. The Orion 26 exercise is designed to test France's ability to coordinate land, air and naval forces under combat conditions similar to large-scale state-on-state warfare. Military officials said the drills include amphibious landings, troop deployments and joint command operations aimed at strengthening readiness amid a shifting European security environment. French defense authorities described the exercise as part of a broader effort to adapt operational capabilities to evolving threats, including conventional warfare scenarios requiring rapid force projection and inter-service coordinations. Business updates coming up next. For now, a short breather.
World shares were mixed today after US stocks slumped on heavy selling of shares in companies that could be losers in the artificial intelligence boom. A report by Citrini Research, a New York-based financial service company, that outlined a future scenario in which AI's dominance caused the human-centric consumer economy to wither away with dire consequences for employment, was the latest hit to confidence for companies that might be displaced by fast expanding use of the technology. The futures of the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average were up less than 0.1%. In Asian trading, Tokyo's Nikkei 225 index surged 0.9%. Markets in mainland China advanced as they reopened following a week-long holiday, but Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell as traders locked in profits from recent gains, slipping 1.8%. In South Korea, the Kospi picked up 2.1%, setting fresh records on gains for memory chip maker Samsung Electronics, which jumped 3.6%. India and France have revised a 3-decade-old tax treaty, reducing dividend levies for large French investors while expanding Delhi's powers to tax some transactions. The changes could benefit major companies such as Sanofi, Renault, and L'Oreal, which have expanded their investments in India over the past few years. The agreement also gives Delhi the right to tax capital gains arising from the sale of shares, including transactions where a French entity owns less than 10% of an Indian company. The revised treaty also removes a most favored nation MFN clause, which had allowed French entities to claim a lower tax rate in India. It will come into effect after completing formalities and legal approvals in both countries. Japan's Nippon Steel plans to raise $3.55 billion via a convertible bond sale, the biggest in Japan's corporate history, as the company seeks to refinance its $15 billion takeover of US Steel, which closed in June, and to fund business expansion. Nippon Steel said in regulatory documents on Tuesday the bond issue was planned in 2 equal tranches of 275 billion yen, maturing in 2029 and 2031 respectively, and bearing stock acquisition right and 0 coupon. It added that it may increase the bond offering based on investor demand and market conditions, and as it looks to invest 6 trillion yen over the next 5 years, including $11 billion in US Steel to fund the business growth. This month, Nippon Steel widened its net loss forecast for the financial year to end March to 70 billion yen, due in part to a fire at a blast furnace and because of charges related to its acquisition of US Steel. The Iraqi government has signed a series of agreements with the U.S. energy major Chevron to manage and develop several key oil fields, including one previously operated by Russia's Lukoil, in a move aimed at boosting production capacity and attracting foreign investment. The signing ceremony was attended by Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani and U.S. Special Envoy to Syria and Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak, underscoring the strategic significance of the agreements for bilateral energy cooperation. The partnership is also seen as part of Baghdad's broader effort to diversify its international energy partnerships while stabilizing production in fields that have faced operational challenges in recent years. Time for sports update. Argentine football faces a major standoff as club leaders have requested the suspension of the Apertura tournament's 9th round. This move serves as a show of unity behind the Argentine Football Association following a legal complaint filed against its president, Claudio Chiquitapia, and 4 other executives. The investigation centers on allegations of tax evasion and the failure of deposit pension contributions between March 2024 and September 2025. Club officials argued that the legal case threatens to destabilize domestic football operations, leading to this dramatic call to halt the competition. As the legal process moves forward, the AFA remains under intense scrutiny, sparking significant administrative tension across the league. Paris Saint-Germain vice captain and Moroccan national team captain Achraf Hakimi is set to face trial on charges of rape in Nanterre of France. The prosecutor's office launched the investigation in 2023 following an allegation of sexual assault against Hakimi. The footballer publicly denied the accusations in a post on X, calling the charges unjust and asserting that the evidence proves his innocence. 28-year-old Hakimi has been a key figure for PSG and Morocco, serving as vice-captain of the club and captain of the national squad.
Legal experts said the case will proceed under French criminal law, and the trial is expected to attract significant media attention due to Hakimi's high-profile status. Time for weather updates, first from Nepal and then the world. That brings us to the end of this edition of NTV World News Hour. But before we wrap up, here's a look into the headlines once again. Nepal government decides to grant a 3-day nationwide public holiday for March 5 elections, approves proposal to form Gen Z Council. Nepal's Election Commission pledges 24-hour results for March 5 elections, warns all against misinformation. Prime Minister Karki reaffirms Nepal's human rights commitment in a video address to the UN, links upcoming election to Gen Z movement for reform. Holy festivities begin across Nepal as Kathmandu raises ceremonial goals. Spring celebrations kick off with Mithila Parikrama and vibrant traditions. Ukraine President Zelensky calls Russian President Putin's invasion a failure, marking 4 years since Russia's attack. And domestic and international support pours in to support Savitra Bhandari's treatment. The national team captain expresses gratitude. That is all for the moment. Do join us through our social media and visit us at www.nepaltelevision.com for more information and news. I am April Singh Lama. Thank you for watching. Good night.